So let's just start. We might as well.
Yeah.
So hello everyone. This is Wargroove Podcast number 9. We've been away for a bit, but we're back to talk about recent events, and we hope this will be fun for you. So I'm Basic, and I'm accompanied today by Gimbleby. Go ahead and
Hello. How are you all doing tonight?
Hi, I'm Master of Math.
Hey, this is Sneaky Dragon.
This is Time Key.
Okay, so people don't want to advertise, don't want to plug their stuff, so just go to YouTube and watch stuff from them. So let's jump right in. So TYM May, 2 months. I should say a month ago. TYM May closed out. These were the maps. So we had a fog map, and 3 other cool maps. So what do you guys want to say about it?
I'll give a little intro. So this, for TYMA, we were like, let's try naval. It's something that we haven't tested at all. We didn't have any naval in Groove of War. It's like we had like a barge on a map, and that was it. And that caused problems by itself.
An infamous barge.
Yeah.
Vertical versus horizontal.
Oh god. So yeah, we hadn't touched naval. We were like, okay, let's try a bunch of naval maps. We'll see if people are interested. And I didn't enter TYMA. I only recorded the matches and.
Oh, you entered fog, but you didn't finish because your computer had problems. I remember.
Oh yeah, my PC. The day of the Groove of War 4 finals completely broke.
Yep.
So, I dropped out of the event. I only played like 2 fog matches.
Yeah, I participated a little bit too, but didn't play much.
I had some fun revenge matches. TFJ messaged me about our match and was like, alright, Sneaky, you want your revenge? And I'm like, hell yeah.
Was it free?
No, it was definitely not free. All of my fog matches were really, really good.
Yeah. I think me and Sneaky, we both swept our respected brackets in May. For fog, anyways. But if I got lucky in one of my matches. Like Bozic had me on the ropes because I did a really, really bad Ragnar jump. I jumped into it and then I saw a golem and I was like, oh
no. And then a golem killed me too. So an eye for an eye.
Yeah. No, like he overextended. He pushed a bit too far. I forget how I did it, but like. He was like winning. The worst part was I think he had a golem on a bridge, and I rammed my golem into his, and it triggered his crit condition. So my golem took a lot of counter damage.
That's Wargroove.
Yeah. That's fog.
Yep. As far as naval's concerned, I only played on Cytosis. And I can tell you that 350 Merfolk really changes how you play your cap phase in Cytosis.
So you no longer make Merfolk every turn?
You stall them. Like you don't make them you make them in 1.3. You'd make them like turn 2. Well, no, hell, you make them even turn 1. Turn 2 is like the absolute latest you make it. And the new version of Cytosis, you maybe make them turn 3 at the absolute early. Because like on Cytosis, I think it was I know that Zested, like he did a mage opening on me and I was super behind the entire game. Like he got like something ridiculous. He had like 3 golems against me at one point.
Yeah, I haven't actually played in the naval maps for Testamental May. I only entered the fog bracket, but I've played the maps outside of Testamental, and like other than on Cytosis, like warships are like really, really insane. Like they kind of broke after the flood. Like all the matches were just like warships. And then Port Island Panic, they're also quite strong.
Oh
We
yeah,
didn't
for
really
sure.
see it being like problematic, but it very much is.
Oh yeah, I
I
remember.
tried to abuse warships on Port Island Panic, but every time I went for the warship, my opponent could stop it, usually with a well-placed turtle. So it was really difficult to get the warship into that perfect crit spot without winning that side of naval first. And I never saw the broken condition. Like, if I built it or my opponent built it, we never got to the point where it was broken. That's kind of why I was a little bit disappointed that Matthew and Shu didn't enter, because, like, your match was like, let's see how far we can push this.
You're talking about Port Island Warfare in this case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in Port Island Warfare, I think warships weren't as strong, at least in the few matches I played, because it was, if you went for them too early, you would just die in the middle to a rush or something weird like that. So they ended up being delayed a bit. But if you go to after the flood, like warships dominated, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
Are you
Yeah,
Because you can't
referencing
attack
any
them.
particular match with that rush theory? Any
That's just
particular
an
match?
example.
yeah, I played a
But there
bit
were
of
more.
Port Island Panic. But yeah, Port Island Panic, I think warships are a lot stronger, but I think I think a large portion of that is probably because might have to do with harpoons too. Because in after the flood, harpoons are just hard bands. You can't build them.
Yeah.
But on Port Island Warfare, like I remember I played one match casually, and you absolutely need to build a harpoon, or else your naval front just die to air.
Well, yeah, of course. Like you need like either a witch or a harpoon. But like witch is kind of shaky because if they get a harpoon, then your witch kit doesn't really function as anti-air.
And you need it early too, because the towers are positioned very aggressively.
Here's
Yeah,
the
like
thing,
they're-
though. Like, I straight up went undefeated in the May Tier 1 pool for Port Island Warfare, and I didn't build a lot of harpoons. I built harpoons defensively, which was, like, felt wrong. Like, you're right, you should build them early, and I, like, didn't. But you got into some really weird engagements. Like, a couple of my opponents would just start turtle spamming and then rushing on land. So to counter that, I had to build as cheap as possible and then meet stuff on land. So I'd just build a turtle or throw a defensive harpoon, or not even make a harpoon. Just like try to beat them before all the turtles could get there and stall out the naval front. So like there were other things you could do, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
Well, I guess since we're already focusing on the maps, I think results-wise, Spacefront on his matches on After the Flood and Cytosis were like I think very impressive. He didn't lose a game, and he was facing some pretty strong opposition, so that's I think quite impressive. And like we didn't really see that much of him. Like during Groove of War 4, he didn't
Yeah.
make it out of GMT,
He was definitely one of the hopefuls in Groove of War 4.
and he didn't enter Test Your Metal April either. So this was our first show from him after Groove of War 4.
Yeah, because he kind of like shot up in the rankings for matchmaking, but like before that, he was just kind of like he was a good player, but you wouldn't really expect him to be like one of the best. And now it's like, oh yeah, he's like winning top tier TYM pools, and he's still top of the matchmaking.
Yeah, he's top of matchmaking because he farmed me like a lot. Like we played, I think 8 ranked matches or 9 ranked matches, and he won them like 8-1 or something. So yeah, that's why he's top.
Anyone who can go 8-1 against frickin' Math Lord is amazing. I can't do that.
Yeah, and I played him as well, and like yeah, he's really good.
I think he's like really terrifying. I think in synchronous play he suffers a bit because like he's not that fast.
That makes sense. Like there is that element as well as like the moment you take away the timer or at least lessen it, then like some players really start shining because they do better with
Yeah.
like 5 minutes per turn.
I'm sure we'll get there because there's a whole section about timers.
Oh yeah, I'm an async player. Like I think of the tier 1 pools in May, Spacefront and I were never in the same one. He took 2 of the maps and I took 2 of the maps, and both of us went undefeated. I really want to play him in like an async match because we get into like an argument a month about tactics.
Really argumentative.
Nice. Guys, let's move to June. Unless there's
Oh.
someone else we want to
Oh no, there's
highlight.
still
I have
May.
something to say about After the Flood, actually.
Okay, go
So,
ahead.
one of the things about After the Flood, I played on an earlier version in 2.0 where harpoons were allowed, and they actually did a decent job against warships just because of like the way the map is laid out. You can peck at them from range, and because there's loads of reefs, you'll get crit condition. So there was the thing of we'll take out harpoon ships to allow more air. And I think the idea was that like harpies would be able to fight against the warships, but that didn't really play out that way at all, and it was more about like witches covering warships and stuff like that.
It's actually like dragons to counter warships. Like, because the problem with harpoons is you just get a harpoon and then you get a warship, and then like you can't fight on the land because of warship. You can't fight in the air because of harpoon. So then you just kind of stalemate and just spam warships.
Yeah, so like maybe the map would work if warships and harpoons were gone. I don't know.
Yeah, but then like the map had to be reworked. Like I think Fate is working on a new version, which is like a bit different, and it just has merfolk and barges.
At that point, I don't feel naval makes much sense though.
Like,
Because you're
with that
removing
kind of,
almost
like-
everything, right?
I think it's a valid approach because like with that kind of setup where you have shoals everywhere, like a lot of the naval units are practically like invincible versus land. So it's because it's not really a traditional like naval setup. It's fine to just get rid of naval units.
The thing is, doesn't then be the naval part of the map just becomes who makes more merfolk?
Well, there's like a balance because like archers counter merfolk, and then like
we can kind of talk about this in June when we talk about June TYM because there's a map where you can only build merfolk and barges as naval.
archers.
Okay, we'll get there then. So, any other highlights for the month of May?
I guess like fog was interesting. One of the big things we learned was that you kind of want mountains in fog maps so that you can get more vision. Because there's no real scout unit. Like dogs have 3 vision, which isn't that much, so you can't really safely figure out where their forces are and how heavily concentrated they are with just a dog. So we're putting more mountains in newer maps, and even like in the newer version, you'll see that there's more like central mountains, so you can get vision, so you're not fighting blind.
So the meta will become golems and dogs.
No, it's already the meta in non-fog.
Oh my god.
Okay, let's go
Some
to the
mages
Iron
on
June
there.
then.
Call it a day.
I just wanted to throw that curveball. Okay, TYM June. I didn't play. I didn't see anything. You guys are gonna tell me the story. How did it go?
Well, I found out I'm bad at Dendritic. But yeah, we're talking about Dendritic, yeah, because that's the map I was talking about where it's you see the ports there, you can only build merfolk and barges, and it's really not it's in that map it's really not it's well the games I've been in, maybe Matt could say more about it, but it didn't feel like, oh, you just won because you had more merfolk. Like you could that could lead to you getting a stronger position, but
The map is like really unique because you have a real balance between like how many merfolk you want to build and how much you want to commit into like the naval fronts compared to the land front, which is like really large. Personally, I was like going very very heavy on the merfolk, and that went very well. Like I just lost 1 game, and basically like I would get a lot of merfolk, win the naval, and then to help on land, I would make them all land folk, and they're pretty good defensive option.
oh yeah, that's also Dendric's one of the very few maps where you actually build where you actually legitimately consider harpies, because
Oh yeah, harpies are crazy. Like you always want one.
Yeah, no, they're actually good units. Like mages aren't actually good at fighting. Mages aren't actually good at fighting harpies on Dendritic.
Yeah, because mages can't cover the naval front, which is like the main reason you want to build the harpy. Like they send merfolk down, your port is kind of delayed when for capping it and getting merfolk. So then you get a harpy to kind of fight back and gain some ground there, and then the harpy pressures other areas too. So like if you really want to counter it, you need like a witch or you need like a mage and a harpy. So they're really strong.
And I'm not sure, but I know some people built barges. It had to happen in my games, but people have built barges to accelerate their reinforced pass and even maybe get like a ballista.
Which is also quite a good option because like you have a balloon almost that just ferries units from your racks to forward, and it like saves you quite a bit of time because of like the forest and the village placement. So like your spears can suddenly get into the action a lot faster. And it's also a bit of a cheaper build, so like you can get a build still, like but even if you can't afford a merfolk, and yeah, you also have the option to get a ballista, which is quite strong. Personally, I didn't find too much use for ballista, mostly because of like the commander matchups I was in. A lot of them, either I had to press, so ballista didn't make sense, or I had to kind of get an advantage because I was playing something like Tenri versus Ragna, where like if I just try to camp, I'll just get died to Ragnagroove. And then like results wise, I think like Cleaner Code was incredibly impressive. He beat me, and I think he won the bracket or he tied.
I didn't check. But he won. I
Oh.
think he won a long match. He won like a
No,
lot of
he won
matches though.
all his matches, but I actually won the bracket because he has 2 matches uncompleted.
I do need to go and like close those out as well. I haven't had the chance to do it today. So like I think there are some matches that. So some people are having issues with the website and they were DMing me the results. I think I still have to put a couple of those in. And some people reported that their opponents just kind of disappeared. So like they'll get DQ wins.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like TFG said he couldn't finish his matches this morning or something.
Yeah, that will happen.
Yeah, like one thing I'm considering doing is that TYM won't end until the next one starts. So like we just extend the deadline a bit more.
I don't see like harm in that, as long as it's like made clear so people like know that's the deadline.
Right.
Yeah, like that's something we could do because it would give people a bit more time. We have found that people are more, like, in general, people are more likely to finish matches these days. I think people are getting used to like knowing what their limitations are, so people aren't just signing up for the maximum amount of events each month because they can.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, I'll only enter like 2 or maybe even 1. And yeah, people are just like generally getting better about finishing games.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I have a question for the people here. So this was the first month where we used an automated system for DQs. How did people find that for like checking in and stuff?
I think it's a good system.
Yeah, it's fine.
I took a break in June. I must abstain courteously.
I didn't play.
Okay.
So.
Because like, so what happened is Smash GG fixed the thing that allows people to check into multiple games in a round robin pool at the same time, and that allows people to report results like 99% of the time without needing admin help. So yeah, we've automated pretty much everything with like some admin oversight, and from our end, it's made things so much easier. So if the players are happy with it, then like we're gonna keep going with that.
Well, I haven't heard anyone complain about it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's a lot of work, right? It's just easier on everyone. Just makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there was only like one person who had like who had their opponent got DQ'd or they got DQ'd, but they were playing their match. So like in general, people have been checking in. And
Yeah, and in cases where people were actually playing the game and just forgot to check in, I would like open the match up because like as long as the game's actually taking place, that's fine. It's like the system's just there to catch people who just sign up and disappear.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So let's go back to the maps. Groovy Nights.
Oh, I didn't play in that one, so. But actually, I've seen a few casual games about that.
So I played on Groovy Nights, and like I like the map. Like I think it would be nice if it had like one more contested village, but it's fine because controlling the center is insanely powerful. Since if you look, there's a lot of flagstone along like the middle dividing line.
Yeah. And the gate, right?
Actually going horizontally. So like if you control the center, then you can like bring balloons and air across to different fronts, and you can kind of just split their forces.
Oh yeah, there's also a gate in the middle. So if you get your commander in the center, your commander can whack that gate to farm groove.
Interesting stuff. How much gold was there here? So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Was like 10?
100 maybe? Maybe, yeah, 900,000.
Maybe 1,000?
I don't remember, but I do know that the Groovy Nights is a Mori map, and from experience, Mori maps tend to be quite difficult.
Yeah, I remember asking for exactly this kind of change to remove some villages, because I remember that I really didn't feel that at 1,200 gold, the game was as good as it could be, because I think golems were so pervasive because of the gold, because you could very easily if you got like one village ahead, suddenly you were at 1,300 gold, and you could make like soldier golem back to back every turn, and that completely made golems way better than they should have been.
I don't think like more gold makes golems better, because if you like a golem is so strong on the map, anyways, you can just save a bit of money. So like if it's 1,000, you just save like 300 gold, like build the knight and a sword, and the next turn you can build golem sword.
No, yeah, obviously you can like skip a turn, and then the next 3 turns. So, for example, if you leave 300 gold unused, and you're at let's say 1,200 gold every turn, then that means for the next 3 turns you can make always golem soldier anyway. But you needed to skip a turn where you didn't build a golem. While on the other option, you actually get it every single turn. So it's a bit stronger. I'm not saying it completely changes the equation. I'm saying it makes the golem more of a choice. So you need to make that turn where you're not spending everything. You need to make that conscious choice. But if you're getting like 1,300, 1,400 every turn, then you don't make the choice. You just get it.
I think there's like a kind of point in the gold meter where like per turn, where like you kind of don't want the income to be at like a specific point, because if you get such a big advantage if you take one village over your opponent. So it's like you kind of want to go to like 1,000 or per side, or like 1,400 per side, I guess you'd say, or maybe 1,300.
Because it's not just that you go to 1,300, is that the other player goes to 1,100. So the other player gets really far from doing the golem every turn to counter the opponent doing that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a big deal. Like 1,300 versus 1,100 compared to, let's say, 1,200 to 1,000 or 1,400 to 1,200. I think like it's around the same. Like I guess relatively, like when it's 1,200 to 1,000, it's a bigger lead. But like for the actual like 1,300 versus 1,100 is like the most powerful like lead because of golem sword. I don't think that's really the case. Like in general, I think that the high golem use just comes down to what other options does like the map give you. So if knights are strong, then you can get knights and threaten things. But if knights don't threaten much, then you might want to get a golem. And if balloons don't really help out much, then the golem might be a better choice. Like on Groovy Knights, knights were a good option because they're fast, and even though there were not that many contested villages, they can kind of threaten many and move around and threaten different ones. Supply lines were also kind of long to the center, So a balloon would really speed that up. And I guess the big thing is that like if you build a golem, it can only threaten like one village at once. It's not like it's gonna threaten multiple villages and multiple fronts and just like destroy.
It's also delayed, right? Because you have less overall gold. It comes later in the game, at least 1 or 2 turns.
Not really. Like it just depends how you play. Like some of my games, one of my games, I went like heavy on swords and dogs, and then I got the golem like really early.
Golem is one of those awkward units where it can get very have more, because you can't counter a golem. Not like, okay, you built a dragon. It's this immensely powerful unit, but a 400 gold mage can take it out and you could claw back. But if someone builds a golem, there's no 400 gold unit that is taking down that golem.
No, you use golems to counter golems.
Oh well, actually, like dragon can do well against golems as long as it has other threats to target. So like on Groovy Knights, it's not that it has really limited mobility because unless you control the center. But like if you take a map like Dendritic, you barely saw any golems because Dragon is really strong with all the roads and
the
like
air.
the size of the map. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the and naval too. Dragon actually does things because
You don't
you
get any golems.
that you need witches to fight. You need witches to fight dragons on Dendritic.
I think Dragon only counters golem if you're ahead. Because if your opponent has around the same stuff as you and has enough stuff to defend, as soon as you throw, he puts the golem in front of the dragon and goes like, if you want to sack your dragon for my golem, it's fine with me, right? It's one of those trades where you're like, okay, give me the dragon.
But, like, sacrificing dragon for golem is a good trade because they have to then kill the dragon, and that requires like a mage and something else.
Yeah, but you can't kill the golem just with the dragon, right?
Unless it's on a road. Like golem on a road. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is that a golem's usually not on a road. It's usually
on a mountain.
So a dragon, you could do maybe 50-60 to it at best, and then you have to hit it with a knight or a commander, or if you don't, your dragon dies and the golem gets troll healed 1 or 2 mages, or it's in crit range now, good luck. So it's like a dragon doesn't really counter golem. It's more expensive, it can't wall as well as the golem, so that means you can't advance as well. And if your opponent has mage coverage, you lose the ability to attack with that dragon, but there's no kind of unit coverage that gives you, okay, well, my golem can't march forward. It's a bloody golem. As long as I have things next to it, it can move forward.
Yeah, the key is you have other threats. Like the dragon kind of keeps the golem at bay if there's not enough anti-air. But you have to be able to threaten other things. Otherwise, they can just keep a mage and dragon doesn't do anything.
I think you hit the nail on the head, exactly. Like, I think dragon counters golem if you're ahead.
Yeah. So what's funny thing is that golem seems like a self-sufficient unit, but no, golems need other units to do things.
The problem is they need pretty much any unit, right? As long as you're not behind, golems are great.
Like, I don't know if it's not behind, because like Gilgamesh, dragons are really strong because they can go everywhere and hit like everything.
You still make golems anyway, right? One thing doesn't stop the other.
And there's actual roads on Gilgamesh that you'd want to be on, that you'd want to occupy.
Like, it really comes down to the map.
Well, with this, let's go to Nightfall. We've been talking about balance for less than minutes.
Right. I didn't play on that, though. I didn't play on that, not even casually, so I have nothing to say on that.
So, Trebuchets in Ballista Vans.
Right, I haven't played any games.
So people really don't want to play in a map with Trebuchets and Ballista Vans, then. Is this a Mori map, by the way? He was the one doing this kind of vans, right?
Burke took a Mori map, also called Nightfall, and like put his own spin on it.
He modified from Advanced Wars by Web then.
No, he took Mori's map like in Wargroove Nightfall, and then he put a 1.3 on it, and then yeah. There is no 1.1, there is no 1.2. It's just like Burke version.
Okay, I guess the games were fine. No one played in it. Let's move on. Gilgamon.
Well, we can talk a bit about Nightfall. I watched some of the games. It seemed fine. It seemed to revolve a lot around, like, there was kind of this big standoff in a lot of games where, like, there wasn't a huge amount of early aggression. It was more like, let's build up a big army and just, like, go for a big fight.
So it's basically like who makes the better formation.
Yeah, and like we were talking about golems earlier. I definitely saw a lot of golems getting made, and it's kind of weird. I think there isn't a lot of early pressure plays people can make, but I definitely saw some options people could have had I saw options people could have gone for where like they could have done some pressure early, but I don't know. I think like the towers are a bit too prominent for you to do stuff with like knights early and put pressure on that way. There's like a lot of terrain that's quite clumped up, so like spear formations are just generally quite strong. So yeah, it became a lot about like spear formation, balloon positioning, and like archer use, and quite a bit of air as well. But like,
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the map. Yeah, because the towers are near some villages. You can't really use knights to pressure those.
I actually like the original, like the one Mori made more, because like I found like this version it opened it up, but like the gameplay seems to actually be like more like less exciting, more kind of staring contest esque. And I think it's kind of one of the situations where if you take away all like the complex terrain, then you don't have really anywhere to. You kind of have to stay out of range, so it becomes less interesting. I think the other one, the gameplay early on was more interesting because of like because dragons were really strong. Like the terrain overall was more choky, so like it had that more interesting kind of feel. Like you had some nicely placed archers. Like spears couldn't really do that much because of like the forest and river placement.
I see. Yes, I think like last night, like some user named Pitts, he posted like a picture of his match of Nightfall on like the main Wargroove Discord. It was basically just like just a standoff.
I think like 19 by 19 also has that because like it's very very light terrain near the center. So like a lot of the higher level matches or like matches we saw later on were just like diagonal lines of units.
Oh my god, yeah. Even yeah, especially in 1.3, like there was that match I always show between me and Enzimans where we basically just had a massive steer off.
Because whoever attacks loses.
Yeah, because we both built archers, so none of us wanted to push our archer. We both built archers to support our pikes, so we both knew, whoever just attacked into each other's blob first would just lose.
yeah, there seems to be like a balance when you make a map like pretty open. Is like it needs to be open enough that knights can kind of just like go around and do lots of damage. But if you have enough terrain that like hinders that, then it becomes more about spear walls. And I think from the sounds of things, like what you're saying, Matt, if you have even more terrain, then spears become a bit weaker because archers can start coming into play more, and like you can do more with like air units and stuff.
Yeah, because like mages suddenly are not as fast because like if they have to traverse over like forests and rivers, they can't really keep up with dragons as much.
Also, if you don't have enough stuff to stop the spears then become fast enough to actually rotate around the map, making them way better than they should be. Because a lot of the balance that the spears have now, it's by the maps. It's not actually because now they're suddenly 100 gold more expensive, so they're inefficient. No, they're actually super efficient anyway. But the maps are made in such a way that it stops spears from being oppressive. And this kind of open map kind of opens up the door again for spears to come in.
It's the lack of multiple fronts. Spears get nerfed when you put them on one front, and then your opponent can ignore them and attack another front, and it will take you forever to move the spears. When you just have one big vertical line that's your front, you just plop your army there and have at it, or stare forever.
You put your stuff in the middle and move accordingly.
Yeah, it's like Shu. Like Shu says, he likes to espouse. I don't fight where spears are.
Because you kind of can't, right? Spears are way too effective. They're just so gold efficient.
If you have a very specific army, you can fight them.
Yeah, but then you lose to everything else, right?
It depends. Like I played a game. I think I still have the game open, but I was playing, and someone was going pretty heavy spears, and I went more heavy archer and was like archer sword, and was able to just win through like being able to pick off loads of spears.
Well,
and like they just couldn't get enough on the counter attack to make it worth it. But that is very much you play that very specific style against them, and it's very map specific too. So
Right.
Mages are great into spears.
Yeah.
but forests
look at-
make them so much better at it.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Well, I guess we can talk about Gilgamod.
By the way,
Okay.
what's Gilgamod? I see it's Gilgamesh map, but what does it have special? Other than being forest?
okay, well, I mean, the first thing I'm just gonna note, other than it being the mod map, is I switched the player sides because I was curious if anyone noticed, and nobody
Oh.
mentioned anything. So
Yeah, didn't
You got-
notice.
You can mess with your muscle memory, but like, I guess like,
Yeah.
but
There's
not
some
really.
missing forest in the center, and there's a spot for traps on the for the blue player on the left racks and the right racks for the red player.
yeah, so you can get wheeled units out on this. This was our we weren't sure how the mod was gonna play, so we decided to use an existing map and just like make a very small change to allow wheeled units to come out and see like what the difference between like how the map played would be.
I only watched a few matches, but I know that like Red Jams doesn't like playing against medium melody.
Yeah, medium melody is pretty scary. I think I beat the LOD player I went up against. Let me double check that.
Oh yeah, because I watched the match where he played TFJ, where he used Darmersha and LD actually got multiple grooves off.
Since we're talking about the mod map, we have a whole slide on it. Should we just talk about the mod in general right now?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, can do.
So I have a few questions for you guys. I don't know how you want to tackle this one at a time, or I'll just get the questions in and then you just start exposing about it.
I think it's better you ask your questions and maybe something will come from that.
So the things that came to mind immediately were, first of all, is it fun? Second, does it play well? Like, does it flow correctly? Is it balanced? So is it better than standard balance? And after playing it a bit, what do you think needs changing?
So I think, am I the only person here that played the event for it in June?
Well, I couldn't because I can't run the mod.
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess I'm kind of biased because I'm also the person that's like making all the balance changes, or I say all of them, but I get a lot of input from people. But generally speaking, I found it to be very enjoyable. There was definitely some things that needed worked on, but yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It was fun to actually be able to use wheeled units without feeling like they were ridiculously game breaking. It made the game play a little bit different, but not in a way that was bad. So I made a ballista one game and was able to do quite a lot of damage with it, but I still lost. So yeah, it's not. Yeah, it gives you options, but they aren't game winning necessarily. So that's nice. The commander changes. We saw a lot of different approaches. There's also the whole I played Dark Mercia for 5 turns and then I missed another mage could hit me and I died. So that was kind of dumb. It was one of those situations where I'm oh, I can tank a mage creating a sword hit, no problem. And then a second mage comes out of somewhere I should have seen it.
Out of the woodwork.
And I just died. Yeah, it was just one of those you just derp moments where you're just oh yeah, there's a unit that can kill me.
Yeah, but you tend to do that when commanders like Darmersha, because you're oh well, I get grooves, so if he doesn't kill me, then I just kill him next turn.
I'm having
and I did actually have groove. Yeah, I had groove, so I was just oh well, as long as I live, then I'm fine, because I can just groove and get my health back.
And then oops.
But yeah, I just died. It was pretty embarrassing. But my other matches were really good. I played Ryota against Merciful, and I lost There were some really annoying things about that match. Like I got some really, really bad roll luck at points. And there were situations where like if I just played the turn order differently, it wouldn't have mattered. But because it was such a low chance of that roll luck coming into play, like I just went for it, lost like 40% health on a spear that hit a village, and like that caused me to lose other fights later on, and it just kind of kept going from there, and it was a bit sad, really. But I had a lot of fun playing with that. There was definitely some balance changes that need to be made. Like Merciful didn't do very well in general. Merciful. Yeah, Merciful. I get him and Emmerich mixed up. But yeah, Merciful was a lot of fun to see people playing him, but he definitely needed some buffs, which we're going to address in the next update.
Just to
There's
look
Sigrid.
clear for the people hearing us, Merciful now changes village
He
from the other guy to
he-
yourself in one turn.
Yeah, it has 2 range as well, so you can do it from a bit of a distance. It also fully heals the village too, so you can like heal a unit off of it.
I really don't want anyone thinking we're talking about the fishing.
It still has the fishing animation, which is quite funny, but
Yeah, there's also Sigrid's ability to now teleport.
so
That
I played Sigrid. Sigrid's so much fun now, like, and obviously it makes her stronger, but
Not- but
I
not
don't
like-
think she's going to be top tier.
I think
Sorry, you're
she's
saying.
I think she's like just as bad, like a little bit better.
But
that's
She's
harsh.
still
she's
the
not-
same problem.
Yeah, but it's not an absolute joke now. Like now, Sigrid can do things other than just stare at your blob.
Yeah, but like, she has it's such a cool option at times though, where it's like you need to like reach a unit that's like normally out of range for like everybody, but like she can get to it,
So
and stuff like she can jump between fronts, which is quite funny.
Yeah, but you can still just like stare at her, and then she's never gonna get any value.
The feeling
Like you
I'm
just
getting
spam spears.
is she got style points but not power.
She definitely got power. It's more style than power, but yeah, like I think she's better than she was before, like undeniably. You can't just give someone 2 extra range on their groove and like say it's not like a power buff. I think it's like she is a lot more fun now, which is like very important.
Right? Yeah.
And
Because I think Sigrid's like easily like the people that most new players gravitate towards. Like I know I was like that when I started out this game. I was like, man, Sigrid's really good.
It's the waifu.
yeah, she's just so simple as well. It's like really easy to quantify like what her groove does and how that impacts the game.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just
she kills a unit and gets her health back.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to understand.
And with this, it's like, I think she's just a bit more powerful. She can impact stuff. Like, you have to respect her groove, which people do right now. But having like 6 range on a groove as opposed to 4 is like really scary.
Yeah, but like it doesn't really like improve her gameplay when you play against her. Like, yeah, if you don't play against her well, then yeah, she can beat you even harder because like she can maybe like move to a mountain while eating a unit when she normally couldn't. But if you just like make a wall of units, it doesn't matter. She can eat any unit at the front, but
And
she might
just die,
die,
yeah.
or she'll just kill a spear, which is not worth it.
The problem is she is still hard countered the exact same way.
Right,
Kinda.
but it's definitely better than what you had before, where it was just, man, you just wall your unit and you just put stuff near her because you just know she just dies if she stays.
I think though it opens up some stuff because like you got to respect mobility. People didn't respect Yoda's mobility, and Alsame used that even before the buffs when Yoda was like not used by anyone other than Alsame.
Oh, but that
And-
was awesome, right? Because he sucked, and if anyone did something like that, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Keep going, by the way. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
No,
and
yeah,
with,
no, you're right. But like I think if it became more normal and people started playing with the mobility a little bit more, even if you blobbed maybe you could still pull something off. Like maybe do something like use archers to kill a unit in the middle of the blob, then jump behind something and kill it to open up a path so that you can re-surround yourself so that Sigrid is still protected and you win the trade, something crazy like that.
But they just have to. That's an oversight on their part. They just have to.
Yeah.
If they can just see it coming and not allow it.
Honestly,
Twins were interesting for me.
let me just say this
Yeah, I
before
was
you
gonna-
go there.
Yeah,
'cause,
go
'cause
ahead.
I just want to point this out about grooves in general, and this is true for Sigrid. If the groove leaves your commander where you use it, and it's a killing groove and it's melee, its power needs to be incredible, right? That's what happened with Ryota, because if it doesn't do massive damage, then you just straight up die because you're left right beside your opponent's units. And honestly, killing a unit is not powerful enough where in most situations it's worth it, right? Because that unit will have protection around it that will just kill your commander straight up. And that's my 2 cents about that problem.
I will say, if anyone's interested, I did kill a Velis with Sigrid's groove, like by using it, and it was like a pretty sick groove, if I say so myself. There are times when you just have that, right, where you just like do the Galaxy Brain move. I seem to recall my groove with Sigrid like opening him up and like allowing me to just do lots of damage with my army. In a situation where Sigrid like normally wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
So she has more plays now, and you can like do more stuff with her groove. And I'm terrified of giving Sigrid fast. Like I think that would make her way too strong.
I would give her fast.
I would give her fast. But
I would not.
I just
Oh my
want to
God.
ask this. Is Elodie, because this was one of my predictions, is Elodie at medium just straight up better than Sigrid?
For sure.
Okay.
Well, because like
Thank you.
we talked it over, and like Matt brought up a very good point. Gilgamesh is because LD's nature, LD is actually very, very map dependent, and Gilgamesh is a map she kind of likes, where you want to build big units like golems and dragons.
Sure,
And-
but I'd rather get the unit that my opponent lost than get health back. I think getting the unit is just a straight up better.
Well, for sure,
trade.
yeah. It's you get
Yeah.
double the value gain, and
it's
it also gets to attack. So
Yeah, it's
Even more.
basic. It's and unit has essentially a +2 for you. It's basically +2 because you go +1 and your opponent goes -1.
And +3 if you kill something.
Yeah.
And I think if people find out that LOD at medium is not broken, then that means there's definitely space for Sigrid to go up in speed and get to fast.
Maybe we'll see how she does at the moment, because having that extra mobility does give her
Yeah,
a lot of strength.
It gives
that
her
Elodie
it gives her
doesn't.
niche. Because if you gave that extra mobility to LD would actually be kind of
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone agreed that LOD should go just to medium, and that would probably fix her.
Like
Yeah,
even
and
as
like-
To remember is the sneaky component. It also depends how you play them. We're talking about like standard formations. I'm fighting into you. We all have a big army. It's turn 10, whatever. But like Sigrid's specialty has always been, and we didn't notice this much because, it's Sigrid's specialty. It's like the cockroach's specialty. Who cares? It's still a cockroach. But Sigrid's specialty has always been early game rushes. I'm really strong. You don't want to put a big tanky unit near me because I'm going to eat it before you get enough villages, and then you're screwed.
But at medium,
So now that Sigrid can teleport, if you put that beefy unit behind your stronghold, kind of hiding it, so if you go in, I'll attack you. Now she could jump over the stronghold, eat it, and she's in your back line. That's really scary.
sure, but at medium, it comes a bit too late for the early game.
yeah, but we got off track. Like has LD actually been doing good in the mod or not enough data?
it's been small sample size. It's been like one bracket, I think.
Yeah,
They're
it definitely
too
needs
cool.
more play. Yeah.
A quick glance says Elodie is winning a lot, so
Yeah, but that could also be due to the fact that not a lot of people actually play against LD, and I know of this because I've played Vito a lot against LD, and she has this tendency to make you overthink when you play against her.
yeah, like we don't have a lot of data, like you were saying, So like we have no data on Caesar. Everybody was playing the like lower tiers that got buffed.
Yeah, I mean that's always how the
Well,
new thing goes. People
Everyone
want to
wants
play
to
the new,
have fun.
yeah, because the low tiers, no one plays them because they're low tier, and then you go and say, oh, suddenly this might make them viable. Everyone wants to try it.
Yeah. I think there's also the fact that a lot of the low tiers are actually fan favorites. Characters like Sigrid, like Elodie. There are characters that from the start people really gravitated to. The only reason people stopped playing them is because they sucked. It's not because
Right.
people didn't
Pretty
like
much.
them.
Yeah, like there's lots of people that really like playing Sigrid, and I hope that this gives people more of a reason to play her. But yeah, we'll see. Definitely, there's going to be more changes coming, and one actually who isn't really a fan favorite because everybody was terrified of them at the start, but then realized they were really bad. Was the twins?
Yeah. Matt was about to
yeah.
say something about the twins too.
Yeah, I actually misunderstood the description. But when I started watching videos, I realized my mistake. So originally I thought that you would use the fire, and the next turn you could use the heal. That's what I understood from the description.
It's same turn,
Watching
right?
gameplay, it's the same turn. Yeah, you
Yeah.
use fire, and then you use heal. So I actually think that can be like top tier. Like I think that's
Really?
way too strong.
It goes
Yeah.
to top tier.
Yeah, I love the twins now. I really enjoyed playing them. It was so much fun, and I like messed up as well. Like if I'd played my groove better, it would have like given me like I basically lost the unit for free because I just didn't put fire down in the right spot.
And is it that strong because you can get so many more pluses, or is
Well, yeah,
it really
you
super impactful immediately now?
You can put like fire to disrupt their like formation, and then put like heal to make yours rock solid. So they have to move away, but they can't really attack you.
Yeah, because one of the things as well is that like fire expands at the same speed that water retracts. So you can basically just put this impenetrable wall of death in front of your water.
No, you're
also,
you're
like-
totally right. I hadn't thought about it in that regard. Yeah, you can just put the fire in front and the healing behind, and now they can't really jump on you. And before, that was definitely one of the ways of countering fire. You just jumped
And-
on your opponent if you had enough.
Yeah, you just put your stuff right next to the fire, and you go to your opponent. Okay, hit me, because you'll lose your units if you attack me.
And if like HQ is exposed, they were already terrifying, but like now they're like super insane. I don't know how you defend HQ. It's like
Nice.
even worse.
Nice. I really like hearing that. Maybe I need to
You
start
know I
playing
like
more.
hearing that. Oh my goodness. Give
And,
me
like-
the cheese.
The cool thing about it is like the skill level, the skill ceiling, I guess I should say, is quite high as well, which is always a very good thing.
Oh, definitely.
It means that people are going to take time to figure out like how to do the optimal stuff with twins, because like I mean the very simple one is just like you throw down water on your army and you throw fire in front so the opponent doesn't attack you. That's like quite simple, but we could start seeing some like really cool plays come out of them.
Yeah, the thing with wins is they were always, if you're not going for some sort of HQ cheese, they were always a very like high skill ceiling kind of commander. I just found that the fire is like it was your main play just because water is like really really weak. So
Well,
in
more
regular,
water is just too situational to make it to be worth giving up fire for.
The problem of using water is that you might as well just play Marcian.
well, yeah, like you heal 2, and then maybe you can get it for 2 turns, but already it's way more delayed than Mercia, who's fast charged,
Right.
who heals 5. So,
Yeah,
like,
it just does more because it doesn't. Because the thing with Merja stops you from hitting her. Whereas twins at only 20%, you just shrug if you severely cripple your opponent's units.
And
'Cause, you know-
and twins heals the other guy too, right?
Yeah,
So it's just
Yeah.
worse than Mercia. Like heal is the panic button. It's really it was really just for very extreme situations, very specific situations. And this way now it definitely has a use.
yeah, like
Because I saw there was a game on not on the mods but on like regular Wargroove, and they were playing Fog this month, and I think Faded threw down water on his army.
Oh, it was it was Red Jams. Yeah, Faded versus Red Jams. Like the first water, we can talk about it later, but yeah, Red Jams used water twice there, and one of the times he used it, it backfired massively.
Yeah, that will happen.
Yeah. Because like his army just got pushed off of it, and then the opponent healed from the water.
Yeah.
So because like fire is your main play, when you're not doing like cheese stuff with it, like it's really strong if you have two armies and then you put the fire and then their army has to split up and then you can kind of try to crush one side. But the problem is they could never really get to such a game state unless the other player made mistakes because they don't get enough value off their first groove to really have that position in like the second groove kind of a game state.
Twins Fire has this on the normal game. It's basically one of two situations that you're finding that it works, and those are two situations you don't really care about. One of them is when you're already winning, so it's really good at closing out games, like really, really good at closing out games, because if you get to a barracks or something like that, you stop production for 3 turns in the barracks, and the game is pretty much over if you're already ahead. And the other situation, which you don't really care, is if you can actually break the maps, which twins actually every once in a while do. But then the maps just get updated slightly, and they no longer break it, so it doesn't really matter. And all other situations, it's not really that good.
You wouldn't change the map because twins break it. Like if only 1 or 2 commanders break it, you would leave the map the same. But you might just ban twins.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the same problem, right? It's exactly.
We would always work under the assumption that like a map will always have like at least one person or at least one ban per player. So like if Volder breaks a map, for example, you would just give the players the option to remove Volder. Yeah. Because if everybody else is fine on that map, then like the map isn't the issue. It's just like that one specific thing.
Right. To transition to talking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So basically, the mod essentially removes the huge opportunity cost of water. Because again, like water is so niche that you're like, okay, why would I put water when I can use my grooves to put fire down?
I also like the fact that the water allows you to place fire. Then you put water in the place that you need to hunker down while you wait for the fire to grow. And that actually allows you to actually defend that spot. It's actually one of the problems that fire had, is that a lot of the times you put the fire in a very specific spot because you needed like 3 turns in the future to do something with it. And you just couldn't defend that spot. And water for sure allows you to hold a specific position that you really need to make the fire work. And that's really good.
So yeah, we are gonna fix the twins so you can use the grooves in either order. Right now it's fire first and then water. I think it was way simpler to code that.
Isn't it irrelevant though?
I guess if you only wanted to use water in a situation, like you could use water and then just end your turn.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I see.
Weird.
But it's just one of those like, it's neater to do it that way, like to give people the option of which one to use first.
Yeah.
I mean, I've used water before and then realized I put my fire in the wrong spot. So, because I knew exactly where I wanted to put water first.
Yeah, it should
and
be.
I just didn't think about it.
It should be easy because it already has 2 buttons, so you just invert the script that you use for the first button and just slap it on the second. Yeah.
So yeah, like we'll. I can't remember if that's getting fixed for this one or not, but that is a fix that's coming in the future.
Wait 1 sec.
I'm trying to think what else. Nuru, I didn't play with her. I did fight against her and right. That was the game where I played Dark Mercy and walked into death, so my experience versus Nuru is pretty much non-existent. Yeah.
Nuru is actually one of the... Yeah, it's one of the commanders that I'm more curious. Because she was heavily nerfed. But she was nerfed in a way that, according to people like Shu, she's still super broken because she can still get mages and knights and stuff like that. So I'm really curious.
No, I think Shu actually likes Tenri more. Like if you have Nuru and she can't summon Treb, he actually prefers Tenri.
Yeah.
There was like a discussion yesterday, and he was talking about like how Tenri has all these like nice plays, and like Spacefront was also agreeing with him. Personally, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
like Nuru is better, but
I really like hearing that because I clearly remember having talks with him about it a while back when I was pushing the idea of removing units from Nuru's kit. And I remember clearly he stating that no, it's still broken because you still can get a mage that removes a dragon from the map or whatever. And I was like, no, but just removing the amount of options that Nuru has will probably get her in line. And if he thinks Terry is stronger now, and Terry to me is actually in a very balanced spot, then I guess he thinks Nuru is good now. Maybe even
Yeah,
weak.
I think Tenry is definitely stronger than Mod Nuru, and like I've been avoiding Mod Nuru because I want to see regular Nuru who is nerfed and see if she's in line. Like so far, I had a really great game of Alder versus Shu's Nuru, and like there were some things about that game because like Shu had FTA with the way we opened, but I also took longer on my turn, and Shu had a kill, but neither of us saw it at the time. Though I ended up winning against Nuru, and like there was a Treb, but it wasn't oppressive. But Space Front argues should have held Groove instead of using it, but then I would have been able to push you off. So like there's still a lot of testing still to do, but I want to see if the currently nerfed medium Nuru is balanced because like I've been trying to play against her a bit more, and it seemed all right so far. I don't know.
I think she's balanced if she doesn't have like Treb or Warship, because Warships she can kind of break everything with it, and with Treb is really OP, so she just kind of evades the map safeguards, and then you have problems.
It may come to the point where we just like, instead of the mod removing units from Nuru, like map makers just remove them from the game.
Right.
Like, we just never have Trebs like ever.
Yeah.
Like we currently what's currently happening now in the map making meta.
Honestly, I would really prefer the Trebs to get super expensive before actually fully removing them.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just we don't have that kind of power over the default game. So yeah, like we're just gonna go with like removing the units and see if that actually makes Nuru fine. And here's the other thing is like, I mean, we're going to talk about this later, but Groove of War 5 is going to be quite a while away, and like we're just testing a lot of stuff right now. It's like, oh, is Nuru too powerful under these circumstances? And if we remove Treb, is Nuru still too powerful? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Groovy Knights Nuru thinking there was no Treb until like quite late in the game. By then I was already really winning because I had the whole center and had like archers to fortify it. But then I realized I could do Trebs, so I just got a Treb, and I think Louis resigned like 2 days after that.
Oh yeah, I was recording that game recently, and I was like, why aren't you just banking for Treb? And then that makes a lot of sense if you were just like, you just didn't realize until later in the game.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Nuru will probably like if you make Trebs completely inaccessible, like if you make those kinds of units completely inaccessible to Nuru, so you have a map where you don't have Trebs, you don't have warships, you probably get into a situation where Nuru at medium actually becomes kind of weak. It's never weak because the flexibility is also something you really need to think about, but it stops being like one of the best for sure.
Right, because at medium, there's actually a big opportunity. There's actually kind of an opportunity cost now.
And at most, what you're doing is removing a unit, right? Because the units that she's left with are units that actually just remove something from the map. It actually encroaches on the LOD aspect of it.
Right. Like
well,
now,
it can
Nuru
remove and
Nuru just needs to get more pluses.
It can remove and like fortify your position. So like, you can get like a spear. Okay, you kill something, but then it also acts as like a cornerstone for your defense. Or you can get like new archer, and like now you have an archer, and they can't really attack into you.
Yeah.
So it's like
I agree.
You also have like just pure removal, like mage and dog.
I agree, it's different.
Mage removal is the crux of it, but even that, it's not like broken. Like, I used mage removal in a quick play game recently, and I was like, oh my god, I just killed a dragon, this is so powerful.
It's not.
And then I watched my mage get just destroyed next turn, and I was like, wait,
not.
I spent
Groove at 800
how
gold.
much gold to do this?
Yeah, yep.
I missed a build.
Is
that worth it?
That's exactly the defense I used for quite a while too. About that specific exchange, like trading units with Nuru is very expensive because of the double cost. Like, it's not cheap. Sure, it's amazing, but it's not cheap, and it has a real cost to it.
The other thing is, though, you have a unit on the front line. So if you get value and the unit pays for itself, then you, instead of building a unit from like the barracks, you have it at the front line, and you can still build a unit from the barracks. So
not if you don't have enough money, though. That's the catch.
Well,
like, if you have 2 barracks and a tower, and you build something at double cost with Nuru, if you have enough to do 3 builds right now, you seriously banked. So you missed a build on the previous turn, or you have an army of dogs. If you don't have enough to do it right now, then you could have used that money to build from one of those.
Not necessarily. Like, it really like, if you want to miss a build, you really need to have good justification. Like, it has to be like a really, really strong play, because that's one unit. And
I think miss a build is not the correct wording. What you need to say is more along the lines of, he built a soldier instead of building a knight, and now he has a soldier instead of a knight, and that's why he can do the mage play. So you actually sacrificed having a knight that could have moved like 12 squares already to make that play available.
That exact thing literally killed me when I was trying to play as Nuru. I was like, okay, I'm going to save up for like a more powerful unit. I'm going to start banking. I'm going to make a few dogs. My opponent just made 2 early knights, and I got pressured off the center, and there was nothing I could do to recover.
Yeah, you should still like build units and build strong units, build knights, like build golems, build spears.
Yeah.
Like, the way I like to play Nuru is like not bank. Well, if you can do Treb, then yeah, bank. But without Treb, I would still get knights and stuff, but you keep the utility option. So like in the short term, you can like get spears to fight off knights, and you have like a threat of a dog. And then later on, maybe you can do some like archer stuff, or like pressure commander with knight crits. So they have to be more safe.
By the way, don't get me wrong. I think you're completely correct in everything you said. In high income maps, I think all of this goes out the window the lower you go in income. Nuru gets seriously nerfed in low income maps.
Like Groovy Knights was only like 900,000 income, and that's lower income for 2 tower, 2 racks. And you could see like how I was playing it, because I didn't think there was Treb. And
You
I
were
just
probably
held
crushing the map anyway. Nuru was just an incidental.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Otherwise, like,
so
results, like, I guess Spacefront again was very impressive. He didn't lose a game in Groovy Nights, including beating me, and didn't lose a game on Nightfall. And those were the only 2 brackets he entered, so he sweeped all his games, and he's undefeated in 2 tester medals, or all his tester medals. Otherwise, Cleaner Code was also very impressive. We haven't gotten to Fog and Violent Mist yet, but I think he beat me in actually Dendritic and Violent Mist, my only losses. And he was like beating. I don't think he got a loss.
Nah. Oh, he beat me in Violent Mist. Well, because he won. He got like a good first. He got like a good early aggression. That was really not prepared for.
So he's a real like kind of rising player. I would expect him to do things in a 4 or 5.
So players to watch, we have Spacefront and Cleaner Code. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I think KPZ should be added to that list.
Who?
I'm not going to say their actual name. KPZ.
KPZ.
Oh, KPZ. Well, he's actually an old player.
You mean, wait, what?
KPZ.
You mean KMP?
Or
Mercenary? Oh no, it's another person.
is it KMP or KP? Yeah, if he's talking about
KMP.
Yeah, if he's talking about KMP, KMP's actually been in this community for a while. He just took
Yeah.
he took a prolonged hiatus after Groove of War 3.
No, playing against him, I don't find him so impressive. But I know Sneaky has like big troubles against him.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
okay.
Yeah,
KMP back in the day would be able to consistently beat Loveless, me, and Killsauce.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Is that what we have?
like he kind of only lost Groove Reward free because like Lel Niru stuff.
I guess TFJ is not like too surprising. He finished fourth,
Yeah,
but he also performed quite well. I think in like some Testrumental May brackets, Bernie was like performing really well, but didn't participate in Testrumental June. But I would keep an eye on them.
Bernie was really great in May. I remember like it was one of my first Port Island matches, and they pulled this insane Valder rush on me that almost made it so I couldn't play. Like if they had just done one thing differently on one turn, then I would have had no chance in that match, I think. Like it was a really good game.
Nice.
I guess we move to Fog now. Violent Mist.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
And Fog in
gonna step it up. So Violet Mist, just looking at it, and I'll let you talk about it after. Is this a high income map?
Somewhat.
Not really.
How
It's
many
like-
villages are there for each player?
It's like I think 1,200, 1,300, maybe 1,400.
Right. But the big thing about Violent Mist is how many fronts there are. Like, but the center in Violent Mist is actually really powerful. Because if you control the center, you can choose when to push your opponent's HQ at any moment.
I have a question for you guys about this map because I didn't see a lot of the TOIMs, but I saw a few like matches played here. Did most of them end with like blue just going upwards through the south of Red Stronghold?
Wait, what? Blue going.
Wait, player 2 or player 1? Is that better?
The player on the right
I think
going
he
to the
means
bottom
going
of player,
Player
horizontal.
two.
Stronghold
Yeah.
and pushing up.
Going
That's how like
horizontal
every match I
or-
saw went.
You mean like the opening? Like opening, you move west as player 2 and east as player 1, and like some players went center.
Yeah, that's the thing with this opening. Like I know Faded Sun did love trying to rush your HQ, but I preferred center openings.
I prefer just going for like going along the side because you can cap a lot of villages and then usually get a decap or two.
Yeah,
I
'cause,
used
like
to
it depends. Like, yeah, like it's like first 3 turns the cap is the same for both players. It's from there. It's what they decide to do with your commander that really determines like.
Okay.
Because some people like to put their commander on the bottom, like bottom/top of the opponent's HQ to cap villages. Some players just go towards the center with their commander, which is what I tend to do.
Like I think one thing is that like thieves are really insane and
Oh
in
yeah,
fog, and like this map really shows it because like if people just cap villages in like along the contested village line or in your territory, then you just bring a thief in and you're up plus 600. So
yeah.
like,
Thieves are crazy. I think almost every game I've been in, there was always thieves. Like I don't think there was a single Violent Mist game where there wasn't thieves coming into play.
like I think almost all my games I kept some units on like the far side, and I think most of my opponents didn't, just to keep an eye out for like thieves and knights, but like especially thieves because I don't want to go down like a 600 swing.
Yeah, because if you don't cap the village, if you decap, that's really it. Just adds that loss adds up. But just the fact that your opponent had to go, okay, I need to kind of make my all in weaker to account for thieves just shows their power.
The other thing is like this map compared to like Forgotten Battlefield, I think it had a lot more village targets. Also had didn't really have more mountains actually.
It has them in key areas, like there's a mountain like around the center where you can put plop a dog there, which I've seen a lot of matches, like which just gives you vision on the center.
I find
Yeah, true.
that path super interesting because if I'm seeing that correctly, it's 2 beaches surrounded by a mountain, right? It's a beach on each side and a mountain.
Oh yeah, those beaches.
So that
those beaches
mountain is
almost,
like you put the golem there, and it's never coming off.
Oh yeah,
Well,
the
you
terrain is also really light.
yeah, but you don't put golems there because you'd rather have a dog because it gives you a lot of vision.
But
But like, yeah. But speaking of those beaches, I know at Mathlord, when he played against me, he almost died. He could have died because of those beaches, because he did a Ragna jump, and there was a super wonky RNG leaf for those on the table.
That was like really, really low odds.
Yeah,
Really
because
low.
like I told you, like I had to have like, I remember I had to get 3 spear suicides to work on you,
And it's still not guaranteed.
Yep. But but I could easily get those suicides because he was he put himself right next to a beach. So
I like beaches. They're fun.
Also,
like that.
I have like some hot take Fog commander impressions.
yeah,
Like based on like especially like the Ragna game, because basically what happened is I had Groove, and then like Timekey started like fighting my army, and then
yeah,
I could use Ragna Groove to like attack and then follow up. So it seemed like the perfect like opportunity to use Ragna Groove. It was also like really early, like it was against Valder, but I got Groove like turn like 8 or something, and I used it turn 10, which is like really early for Ragna, especially on such a large map where it's hard to get Groove. But still, I was like on the edge of death, which like the fact that I almost died there, and like he could have had like a knight and then I die or golem.
exactly.
That just kind of it shows that safety is really important in Fog. So I feel like Ragna might just be like mid tier in Fog. Like
Because I didn't respect Ragna Groove either. That definitely didn't help me.
like Koji definitely the best. I think Vesper is like close behind.
Yeah,
Green
speak of
Finger-
Vesper.
Also, I think top tier.
yeah, Green Finger is really good. That's what I was playing against Timekey.
And I think like as we develop the Fog metagame more and people play more, I think anyone who doesn't have like a safe groove is just gonna fall off a lot.
Yeah, like I think in our match, if you were playing a different commander, I think Valder could have got a lot more pluses. But because we're playing
Yeah.
Ragna,
Yeah, because like Valder, it's total safe, free unit, and you get pressure.
he whacks he kills a unit, he gets a sword, and he retreats, and he just repeats the process.
Let me ask you one thing. How important is the fact that Baldur can actually gain vision from a village and then, like, you go near enough so you get vision from the village and summon a skeleton? Is that super helpful, or am I... Doesn't really matter? Okay.
By the time you already move, it's too late. You could just die.
Yeah, that's the thing with Valder. He has to play it safe, and it's like, yeah, he gets a free scout, but I've never been in a situation where it's like, oh yeah, that won me the game. Admittedly, I didn't play many Falk matches with Valder, but the 2 I played, that was never a factor.
See, I feel like Emmerich, like Mercia, anyone with like a safe groove is gonna like kind of move up on like the kind of the tentative tier list we have.
Yeah.
And anyone who like Ragna and like Sigrid, Dark Mercia, Elodie, is just gonna kind of move down. I think Ryota also has like a lot of potential. Like I think he's maybe at least mid tier, just because he has a lot of mobility. He still can do damage to their front line. And like with these like because the fog maps are in general a lot larger, he can just dash across the map, which is very nice.
But isn't he hurt by the fact that he can't like dash behind enemy lines because he doesn't have the vision?
Yeah, he's definitely not as strong. Like I don't think he's top tier.
Nah, no. I've played Rio against TFJ, and I asked him after the match was over, like, did you change the way you played the game when I got Groovy? He told me no.
Yeah, because
he's not really gonna change how you play the game
because you don't have vision.
Like that's cool things.
Yeah, like in standard, he changes the way you play the game. The second he gets Groove, you have to start thinking, okay, this is my formation.
To be fair, Ryota probably is balanced in Fog.
Yeah,
he doesn't even need to be touched in Fog.
Yeah, he's like at best he's maybe like high tier. So, but he's I think pretty interesting in Fog.
He's not as consistent as in standard.
Like I don't know, with consistency we'll just have to see, because if what I'm saying is true and we're gonna see safety become the most important, then he will be more consistent because he's totally safe. You can make it so that
Can always
he's
run
his
away.
groove and he's in no danger.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't agree about the Emmerich thing. I agree with almost everything you said about Fog, but Emmerich versus Elodie, I played that matchup and Emmerich felt so weak against Elodie.
In
Because
Fog?
I couldn't advance. If I just sat on my butt with a crystal, everyone knows where my
Yeah.
crystal is. I've got to stay here. They can sneak a village somewhere else. I have no idea.
But no, like
Emmerich
the
is a-
idea is you can first of all you can mind game. You can put the
Oh.
crystal, have some units, and then just kind of attack somewhere else, and like the crystal still gives you a good defensive support, and you
Right.
can hit multiple fronts.
Right, you put a crystal, and then you think Emmerich is there, but he actually isn't. He's killing something else.
The crystal also makes it so your commander can actually like farm groove pretty safely because he's on a mountain, and yeah, with the mountain, they probably have to hit you with maybe 3 commander-esque units, so like golems, dragons, night crits. So you're relatively safe if you can cover sides of your commander.
Right.
And being able to shut down a front is quite important in Fog. And he could, if you go into some sort of race where you all in, each of you all in a different front, he's gonna win those. And yeah, he's just got a really good defensive impact. So if they start an attack and then turns out your Emmerich is there, you can just put down crystal and then they have to retreat.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you're going up against an Elodie, and you can't see where Elodie is, you can't put your dragon anywhere. You can't put your golem anywhere. It's like they have this
within your vision.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I can
not just within your vision, but within her movement speed plus your vision.
Yeah, but also certain areas she will go to, she'll just die. So, and you can always set up a
just
wall
for a
and
fight with Emmerich.
can't be broken, and then put your dragon behind it. On one racks, sure things change a bit. Ragna is more usable, Elodie is more usable, just because there's a bit less units. But I think the 2 racks, it's even more prominent. But still on 1 racks, you can just set up walls, and then you see the same thing, but to a lesser extent.
But I think Emmerich's a mixed bag in Fog. He's definitely not a low tier, but he gains some things and he loses some things in Fog. He definitely doesn't like not seeing the opponent's army. I know with red jams, there were times where exactly what Sneaky said. I played passively because I didn't want to leave my crystal, and red jam just kind of set up his army because I wasn't pushing.
Yeah, I think you have to still play pretty actively with him.
Yeah, but but he's the strongest if you start attacking. If you attack into him too early, he just plops a crystal and just stops your push cold.
Also, I think he has a good matchup against Koji, because with he has his own kind of blocks with balloons and stuff. There's obnoxious under crystal, and then I think mage crit plus some stuff.
No, mage crit
doesn't really. Yeah, I don't know if it actually helps you against his bombs.
No, they don't OHKO.
Yeah, they won't OHKO, so I don't know if it's
Are you sure they won't? I thought it was the same damage as a witch.
No, because
No,
witch
it's
has
not. It's 1.5.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
Which is a ×2 multiplier. I've done it. I've done mage crits on bombs, and I was like, oh, they don't OHKO. Whoops.
But I guess the crystal will help him kind of keep his commander safe against Koji's bombs. And,
Oh yeah, definitely. Koji is
can't
strong.
really beat you up as much, and you can also if he gets too close to your crystal with his bombs, you can kind of take them out more safely.
Yep. Yeah, but Koji is strong in fall because Koji in standard his groove it's for a slow groove, it's very low impact. It's really not flashy, but in Fog, he can use his bombs to get these tiny little pokes, which matter a lot more in Fog than in standard.
I think in standard, the problem is it's not very instant impact. It
Yeah.
requires you time to make gains. So if you're getting kind of run over, it's not someone like Ragna who or Vesper who can kind of just control of the game back again and
they use it. Yeah, their groove is I change the game's flow buttons. Whereas Koji, it's well, I'll change the game's flow eventually.
This isn't Fog specific, but I think Koji is one of the happy accidents of this game. The way he works and the way he works best, I don't think was intended at all.
No.
But it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. But in Fog, it just becomes oh my god, he has his And
You can't put your commander anywhere.
no, you can't. Like I played a match against Koji, and I was even Emmerich, and oh my god, I just had to always keep my Emmerich surrounded because I'm just like, oh my god, if he puts he can just detonate his bomb near
Where are
Emmerich
the
and just
birds?
kill me.
Where are the birds?
Plus, like, it's just insane since, like, if you just try to, like, take out the bombs with, like, mages or harpies, you're taking, like, minimum 400 damage just from, like, the bomb exploding on the units that killed it.
Yeah.
So, like, it's actually insane because it's getting value from putting your commander back. It's getting value by protecting their units. But then, like, if you kill the bombs, even if you do it efficiently and you keep your mage and your harpy, it's actually
Save.
doing pretty good damage. So it's just getting, like, value all around. Meanwhile, someone
You
like...
gotta go archers into Koji.
But, like,
Yeah.
in Fog, it's a lot harder. Like, the maps are bigger, so...
Yeah,
Like, I was
maybe
playing with cleaner code, and I thought, like, I had the perfect anti-Koji setup. Like, I had harpy spam, I had, like, a bunch of mages, I even had archers.
Yeah.
And, like, I did kind of overextend, but, like, the bombs got, like, so much value just from, like, me taking them out.
I think even against Red Jam when he went Wallfar, that's it. Those bombs saves you.
By the way,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if this is a very hot take, but I'll peddle this forever. I think archers should do more damage against all air units, and that includes birds.
Well,
Hmm.
against the bombs, doesn't really matter. But, yeah, in general, they should. Like, the damage against air is pretty pitiful.
Like it's there. It's like it's there if your archer has nothing better to do.
But the thing is, it doesn't change any matchup. So, like, your archer hitting a harpy doesn't allow a harpy to kill the harpy. Archer hitting a dragon doesn't allow a witch to kill a dragon. So it's just like, okay, I chipped it, but the chip doesn't do anything.
I'll put it this way: if you're the player attacking an air unit with an archer, you're either crushing it or you're really, really sad.
Yeah, like I said, it means your archer has nothing better to do.
I don't know if I buy that. Like, obviously, I'm a sneaky dragon. I make dragons. Not as much anymore because I'm realizing golems are awesome. But I still love dragons. And if my opponent has an archer, and I can't kill the archer with the dragon, I'm not super going to put my dragon just wherever the hell I want. I'm going to think about that archer because it's going to take 300 gold off my
Right.
dragon. It's going to stop my dragon from killing something else.
It's not going to
300.
stop you
It does
from killing
average
something.
15. It does, like, average 15 or something. So
Wait, let me
that's
check.
only, like...
You're wait,
You're
wait.
the master.
You're like you're
I'm not the master.
That's
No,
like
no,
170 gold. That's
You're
not fair.
you're like free knight, and I take 15% off the archer. Let me think about it. No, you're just gonna kill the knight and take the 15%. Like,
Yeah, archer does 15% to dragon on average.
A weakened dragon doesn't get the same one-shots, though. And that's like the main point of a dragon.
you're
Like,
still killing the dragon,
Like,
getting
it
the
won't
heal,
one-shot
and then going back.
spears, but it'll one-shot dogs, it'll one-shot swords, and on road
Oh,
it'll still
I get why
one-shot
Sneaky's
things.
saying it's 300 because like if an archer chips your dragon, you have to heal with a mage, and that's 300.
You don't have to heal with mage. Like, in terms of
Yeah, for sure.
healing, it's only like 170.
all right, but then I have to retreat my dragon. Like, I'm assuming I'm not playing against somebody who's giving me free dudes. Like, okay, yeah, if I have a free dog, sure, I'll take it, right? If I have a free knight, hell yeah, I'm gonna take it, even if the archer tickles me. But like, if I'm playing against someone with some mage coverage, but it's early enough,
Obviously, you're not
dragon.
gonna trade.
But like, you
yeah,
feel 170 gold worth it. That's nothing.
But
And like, you don't have to retreat. You can still attack things. It's like your same dragon, just a little bit weaker.
yeah.
Okay, I think we got off topic from Fog.
hits your golem.
And don't forget, you already destroyed a high value unit like a knight. So it's
No
not
one's gonna
like you're
give you a
losing
free
anything.
Oh, other thing about fog, indirects are also like really strong, like the siege ones.
Oh my god.
You've
Oh
been
my
a
god, my
trebuchet,
game,
right?
my game with Red Jam just shows. My game against Red Jam just
And
really
rifle.
shows how good indirects
Even
are.
my game, like Ballista, is really, really a pain.
Oh my god, Red Jam's got 2 against me.
Oh yeah, and there were some people, like, there was a discussion today, and people were saying, like, oh, Ballista's underpowered, it should get a buff, and like,
That's a very
I said
fog
no,
specific.
but I totally forgot about like those fog examples to show them, because like that was actually the case where you
Yeah, those were
the
dumb.
Ballista, and it's not like expedited like on Dendritic, and like you can't build a trap, and Ballista's just really strong.
But the
'Cause,
extra
like-
range really makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
In fog, like the range gains added value.
Yeah, because that's why people forget. It's like, oh, but they're worse because they need other units to scout for them. But you have to think the other way around too. because you actually need to see the indirect to hit it. So if you can't see it, well, it's as if it has 10 meat shields around it.
And
Yeah,
being like
because-
6 range away, it's pretty far away, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
If a ballista hits you from outside your vision, do you even know where the ballista is?
No.
You don't know where it is, but if you have animations on, you at least know what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it is anyways.
You look at the damage or something and you know what it is, right?
no, because you're not critting it. Well, off ballista crit. Well, yeah, it's a 2 spaces, so you know where it is. But like, it happened with Red Jams. He killed one of my swords with his ballista, and I kind of had a feel. I kind of guessed its range because I'm like, well, he probably hit it at max range. But no, you don't know where the ballista is exactly.
I actually made the same
That's pretty
educated
fair.
guess. And I was actually right when I made the guess. But yeah, like the thing with indirects and fog, especially with like siege units which have tons of range, is that the fact that you have to scout gives you more time to get those indirects in place and allows you to be more defensive if you want to be defensive. Because like they're not going to move up like 5 squares at a time if they know your armies could be lurking nearby. You have to move more slowly. So that's just a lot more time.
Yeah, like when my match had Red Jams, I only knew where his second ballista. He got a second ballista and he used a 10 regroove on it to snipe my witch, which actually wasn't a really good move. But even that ballista he moved, I only had like a slight. I think I knew where it was because I managed to get close to it at one point. But if I didn't get close to it, I had no idea where he put it.
I think Red Jams really likes ballistas. He used one in our fuck match too.
He does. Like he was he's the one with like that iconic 19x19 game where he puts the ballista in range of the HQ and just kind of dominates. I even have that in my like center guide, which will be releasing soon. TM.
Yeah.
6 months later.
But it also shows how dumb it is because like even like Red Jams at one point in my match, I rewatched it because I was curious what he did. He had a chance to kill my archer, but he didn't because it was under Emmerich Crystal, and he didn't want to ram his stuff into it. But my archer just got so much value because it just kept on killing his stuff.
So I have a question. I actually have a couple questions. So there was some chat about how like more than one racks on fog would have issues. Like this was the first map that had 2 barracks and a TYM for fog. Like how was it in that aspect?
That it would take people too long to finish matches for how fast the average player plays, but it ended up being that people were pretty like enthusiastic. They did a lot of turns, so like most of the matches were actually finished, and like I finished all my matches no problem.
Yeah. Like I played some of my matches, most of my fog matches semi-sync. Like the only one I played async was against Faded, but even then, like we played semi-sync at one point.
Even against TFJ, semi-sync.
I think I played during lunch, but nah. But that was more async, honestly. But I won super early too.
Okay, that's good to hear. And I guess
I think the big thing is that it's also very much depends on the proximity of the Raxus to the HQ. Like if the Rax is near the HQ, it's gonna be a miserable time in fog. Generally.
The thing is, you can't make like the HQ too exposed. Otherwise, like the center becomes too important, and then you never plan the flanks, and you really promote all-in strats, which are already very strong. Because if you all in on one side, you don't have to care about what they could have. Since if you see that they have units on the other side, you could just go all in. You are going all in, so you know that they can't have more units than you have.
Yep. But I think 2 racks works for fog though. It just requires a bit more care.
Definitely works. And I think we can even make like 2 racks maps maybe even a bit smaller. Because I was experimenting with how small you can make fog maps, and I realized like I made fog in 13x13, and I actually realized making that map, like it plays really well. I did a bunch of games on it, and I really like it. Even did like a 30-second timer and 1-minute timer. But I realized you can make maps even smaller, like potentially even like 10 by 10 fog map with 1 racks. So just by extension, you should be able to make like 2 racks maps that are not as gigantic as like Violent Mist, or as like some of the other maps that I made.
I know Forgotten. Yeah, I think you said like Forgotten Battlefield and Violent Mist are just safe maps for fog. Like you know that okay, these won't break at all when you put fog in.
I still want to test that.
Me and Faded were actually like experimenting, like more recently. Like Faded made a whole bunch of maps. I made a few more maps.
Yeah, like Faded. And the reason I say generally you don't want to keep racks close. Like Faded made a map, and I actually streamed it where he played against Mohinder, and it's 2 racks is near HQ, and the game didn't actually take that long.
Oh like that looks very promising.
Yeah, like it was actually like okay, you can't push the HQ normally, but if you know what you're doing, you weren't gonna do that anyways. Type of thing.
Yeah, I think we're well on track to potentially, like, if there's room in like August, doing like 2 fog maps in terms of like testing and like there being enough maps, because the thing's really ramped up. There's been a bit more interest.
Yeah.
So it's looking good. So
yeah,
I think
we're looking to make some changes to tester metal as well. So like we're thinking about making mod stuff like a separate thing. So like like 2 weeks after Test Your Metal starts, like the mod event would start, and that would last a month. So like kind of alternating the start points for each of them, and that means that like Test Your Metal has room for like 2 fog maps each month. Because like we're already getting to the point. Like next month, there's like 6 maps and 7 events, I think it is.
Was there more attendance? Was the attendance like about the same for fog as in May, or was it more?
There was a huge drop off. I think a lot of people really want to try fog. And I think Forgotten Battlefield, a lot of people didn't enjoy playing on it that much.
Yeah.
So I think if we can offer like, let's say, each month there's like a map that's like 1 racks and a map that's 2 racks, or like one of them is big, one of them is small, something like that.
That one was just like really safe. But like in general, like June, kind of the numbers fell off, but it's probably because of the updates and like potentially seasonal stuff.
I kind of disagree though. I think it's mostly because Groove of War ended, so a lot of the interest that maintained a lot of people fell off. So probably people are taking a break. Like I know I'm one of those guys.
May had 47 and June had 29. So like when you have like 2/3 of the players, you're gonna have like a lot less fog and a lot less of everything else.
But I know fog this TWAM still had 2 brackets because there was still enough players in it. So
yeah, I think like there was also a lot of people who tried fog.
Yeah,
like weren't really fog players in general, but they just want to give it a go.
Yeah, I was one of those. The only reason I played was to try it out. I don't think this kind of game really works with fog properly unless there are units supporting it. Like some of the other games in the same genre, I think do a lot better work at it. But definitely the improvements that have been made to the game to allow better fog definitely made it a much better experience.
On the other side of the scale, I liked fog before the changes. I never tried to play it competitively or anything like that, but I would play fog matches for fun. Now it's even better.
Yeah, it's definitely better.
Like I wasn't a fan of fog initially, but I played it and it's actually really fun. I think Mohinder's the same too. Like Mohinder maybe he's played casual fog, but now I know Mohinder likes it.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are a few people who didn't join like June, but like they might join July. Like I know like Kiramuru, he's like he like only plays fog and he's like pretty good. And he didn't want to join June. He wanted to wait until July because like he wanted to practice more or whatever. So there are some people in like the main Wargroove Discord, and I know like Sneaky and Mohinder didn't join in June. So there's just some like kind of variance and different reasons for different amount of participation.
Yeah, I was speaking more in terms of overall participation, not specifically about the fog.
But yeah, like I think when we announce like more stuff going forward, then like interest will pick up. When we announce Groove of War 5, I think we're going to see a big spike.
Obviously,
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Did you have any more?
we're in this weird period where like we're trying to test rule sets and like tier lists and stuff still. So like,
It's the off season.
yeah, pretty much.
We're gonna have like a poll for like a community tier list soon. Like I thought that was the plan, but
At some point, I mean, I guess I'll announce Groove of Nations first. And then
We still
decide if
have
we're gonna do
a
it
few things
before
to
or
talk
after.
about. Don't
This
forget
is true.
that.
Oh, I was meaning just in general, like we'll announce Groove of Nations and then decide on the poll. But also, I just want to say, like, are people like fairly happy with like fog stuff and like want to see more of it?
I'm very happy. I really enjoy it.
Me too. I'm very much. Like, if this was old fog, my god, this would be ugh. But speaking of old fog, yeah, you know the whole if you move on an illegal tile, and if you exist on an illegal tile and you get ambushed, you're dead. Honestly, that has barely popped up.
Yeah, like that doesn't really matter that much. It was just that you had so much vision that you weren't
Yeah.
playing fog.
Yeah, like now it's actually like, oh, you actually have to play if it's safe.
Yeah, it had to do.
Because I know
Go ahead.
So I see like a lot of like beginner players play Fog. They're just like, oh, you know, they just play Leroy Jenkins into enemy territory and they just get surrounded.
My biggest worry with Fog is they would have to fix a few things that I don't want to mention on this podcast.
Let's leave it at that then.
Yeah,
Have an advantage if you use them or know them.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't think those are such a big deal. You can still like play live games and you can do like tournaments and because you like
Oh, yeah, I think I know what he's talking about. But yeah, there's also this thing like the thief glitch. But that's like minor, honestly.
No, that it's
That's
worse.
nothing.
It's much worse
Fog
than that.
as it
Yeah, yeah.
stands. Fog as it stands. It's not a competitive format.
yeah, I definitely think it is.
But it's fun to commentate. Like it's really fun to commentate. Like I've done it. I've commentated Fog matches for fun.
There
and
is
it's actually really
no
fun.
way you can make a tournament and expect everyone to respect the idea
Yeah, I
that
agree
no
with
one's gonna
that.
watch the stream or something.
But no, you
Like-
can have you can track how many spectators there are, and then like
Nah,
with
but
the stream, like seeing division is not like that gigantic of an advantage that you're just gonna win because of it or
But if you
anything.
put like if you put a timer, it's like it just lessens that advantage.
It's
Yeah,
still,
you
it's
if
still
you put
bad.
the stream on like 5 minute delay, then there's no issue anymore. Because like seeing what they had 5 minutes, okay, it's a bit of a minor advantage, but like things moved around. You already know what they built because of the sounds, so like you're not getting much. And you can even if you're really scared, you can make it like 10-minute delay or something.
That's not what I'm worried about.
That's not the only problem either way.
But yeah, like we'll get to that at some point. For now, I'm happy with like if people are just enjoying playing in Fog stuff, then that's good.
Like
And if we get to
I fully
I was gonna
expect
say-
people to play with like full animations in a competitive setting, for example,
But why?
just to get more information.
It's
Yeah,
not
actually-
someone- we don't have Sanja. We don't have Sanja in this game.
You don't get more information
just thinking,
from
like-
animation.
Oh, you do, because like if you get hit by a ballista, for example, right? Like you can see what kind of
It's
tile
just
it's
better.
on.
Like it's
Right.
just better to play with
Wait, but-
animations
Well,
when you're playing on
people,
Fog.
That's
Like-
That's really map specific though, because ballistics only exist on two relevant tiles: roads
yeah,
and
they
plains.
roads and plains, and like you can tell you're getting hit by a ballista. So like roads or plains, okay, that's nice, but you don't know if they're gonna have a ballista, and if they do, you could
Yeah.
turn it on.
It's
You're
not
also like
just
eating
that.
up potential
not
time.
just
for
that.
your
I guess
It
like
also
archers
gives you more
technically as well.
time to
Yeah,
separate
Archer
the
would be more
sound.
relevant.
It gives
like,
you-
Archer's way more relevant.
Yeah, but
'cause
it
if you
gives
know
you-
if
But
you see the Archer hit you from a mountain, you know immediately where it is.
yeah, but there are more advantages. Stuff like if you have animations, then you have more time to hear the specific sounds, to actually count the units, stuff like that. Like,
I doubt it.
what do you mean you doubt it? Does it not take longer to watch the animation than to hear the units?
It definitely takes longer to
Okay,
watch.
then
the
you have
animation.
more time to actually count it, everything.
But I think
you know what?
the real cheese here is to play Dark Mercia.
Dark Mercy is not good.
She's
Yeah,
not
but you can't
bad.
hear her unless you turn your volume up to 3,000%.
No, you can hear her. She goes like.
Right.
But the trick if you're doing a competitive match is just like max out the volume and then increase the sound effects, and lower the music. And then
Yep.
like all your clicks are really loud, and you can hear all the sound effects.
Just the fact that you're saying that immediately makes me cringe, because that means that new players will have a massive disadvantage over players that know that kind of stuff.
Like okay, if we have like
I was just
if
joking.
we have Groove of Fog, and I'm in the finals, that's what I'll do. Because I'll want to get any advantage I can get.
Or if you're playing
We'll
a game
see.
that you think you can lose, and you get early, like you can get the guy at the that you can get the opponent you would get in the finals in the first round. It can happen. Like it's not just the finals.
You're making me want to run Groove of Fog now. That's a great name, by the way. Even though it's like literally just like the name that we use for all our other events
Yeah.
with the word fog in it.
It should be
But I
that
can
kind of
see-
naming scheme anyway.
But I can see
Exactly because of
I can
that.
see like live streamed fog, like as good as like a one-off matches. I can see that happening. Like entire tourneys.
Show mats for sure. Show mats for sure.
Well, right now we have to see we don't. There's not that many players for full-on
Yeah.
tourneys. We'll have to see it kind of pick up a bit more.
But the thing I'll say about fog is that they're strong commanders, but none of them are just outright broken. Like
I mean,
like Koji's really, really good in fog, but he's like, oh well, he just breaks the game in half. Nah.
Well, I think he's just a bit too oppressive, and he like changes how
Yeah.
you play it too much. But,
Yeah, like-
like Fog is a lot more positional. It's a lot more strategic. You're not going to win like in general because they just gave you the commander. I think people, if they played a bunch, they'll kind of get a feeling of like you have to play somewhat safe.
I disagree with the
Yeah.
more
It's more about
strategic.
positioning around and
Yeah, it's not more strategic. It's you need different kinds of information that you don't need when you have vision.
I mean, there's
It's
It's
always
not
definitely
more
more
strategic.
strategic.
You just need stuff.
you have more.
You
You
need
have more
different
units.
stuff.
Yeah, it's more position. You have to move around, like keep your army solid, and you
Well,
have to like
even
plan
advanced
out
versus like,
how you're going to like
But you
how
do
you're
those
gonna
things
control the
even
map.
when you
Like,
see.
are you gonna commit some units to the far side to try to like scout, keep an eye on some villages? Like,
Yeah, but
are
you
gonna
do
just
all
keep it all
those things
together? Are you gonna
in non-fog.
all in one side with all your units?
You do all those things in non-fog too. You just do it differently. Like the
Well-
major differences of fog is stuff like you should play with like a pen and paper and write as units come out of the buildings because they're behind fog. You kind of want to keep
But that's
track of
only-
what's on the other side. I'm talking about if you wanted to take this to a competitive level, right? Like you're
That's
not
like
going to
super
memorize
annoying.
everything. You're just going to write it up. Like it's just simpler. Like it's different kinds of skills that you need to play fog competitively.
Thing is, you have standard, but like in standard, you don't. There's not the
Right.
same kind of planning of how you're gonna approach things and like kind of get the backup plans because you have full information. You can project everything they're gonna do. Here, you don't, and they don't either. So there's that kind of extra layer.
Well, I'll
That's
tell
what I
you
like
what.
about fog. It's not complete information. That fundamentally changes the type of game you're playing. And you can
right.
do so many different things.
But notice that you have like 95% of the information. The only information you don't actually have access to is positional information. Everything else you actually can know just by looking at goal totals and looking at the
look
sound,
at
stuff
goal
like
totals.
that. You can
You
know
don't know how much
every
gold they
unit
have.
that's on the field, for example.
You don't see how much gold they have. You can just guess it you can just estimate how much gold they potentially have by the units they built.
Are there
No,
units with
because-
repeated sounds? Can't you isolate every single unit that comes out of the barracks?
Okay, if
No.
you wanted to
Too many,
min-max
like,
this to
too
hell,
fast.
you'd have to memorize the
That's
most
why
common
that's why I
opening
said
paths.
you need a paper and a pen.
Play like async, and you need to like slow the game down to like really slow speed.
No, you just
And then open up
you just
Excel
put animations
spreadsheets.
you just put animations on and stuff like that, and you just get used to doing stuff like soldier. You just write a single S. You don't need to like soldier, fight my. Like, you don't do that kind of thing, right? You just go like S S. Okay, then next turn T. You write a T. Then when you kill stuff, you just cross it off. This is not complicated stuff, guys.
Yeah, but to
You
figure out
could
the
just
goal
see,
is a lot more complicated because you have to figure out what their income is at each time. Which that's not that
Because
hard.
people do this kind of stuff in other games all the time.
But you
It's
only
just
know what
not
they
like
spend
uncommon at all.
the turn after when they move it, and some sounds you can just miss, and some units just sound the same. So you can't tell.
Yeah, but we figured out that you should be playing with slow units at the start. Like that was one of the first things people figured out. Like playing with units at slow instead of the normal fast, which everyone uses in standard mode, is actually better.
Like you definitely can't track their money because like a lot of people don't track their own money like that closely for builds multiple turns from now. So how are you supposed to do the same for your opponent?
Oh,
Well,
I
also
totally know
figure this out.
that. What I'm saying is that players who start tracking that kind of stuff will just be the better players.
I don't think so. There's like very little room for like advantage you can get that way, rather than devoting your time, effort, and like thinking to.
While you're waiting for the other player to
aspects.
play, we're talking about real-time playing, right? Or async, it's even worse, actually. Because if you're
Well,
waiting for the other guy to play, then you can do this kind of stuff while the other guy is playing. You're not actually wasting your time.
Okay, I think we're getting.
I think that's enough. Yeah, I think we can move to
Yeah.
time or something else.
Yeah, like let's talk about timers.
Well, I had a couple mod things to talk to you. I was AFK.
Go ahead,
Okay.
go ahead.
when
yeah.
we finished mod.
Go ahead.
All right.
So we're looking at next month, right? Has anybody actually looked at the changes yet?
I haven't seen the
Changes.
changes yet, but question. Are golems still horsies?
Golems are still horsies.
Dang it. Nah, that's my biggest kicker, because every time I play the mod, I forget how to use golems when I stop playing the mod. And I'm just like, brain.
You don't like that they can't move over mountains?
No, it drives me crazy, because then I forget that they can't do that most of the time. And, like, I have strategies that involve, like, Wolfar and golems that I just can't do anymore, and it's just like,
Yeah,
Wolfar Golem is Rax.
we actually didn't talk about Wolfar. Is Wolfar worse because of the golem situation?
I think so. Like, it's sort of a buff, but it's also, it depends how you play a Wolfar. Like, if you want the ability to assassinate a golem, you've got it now. Wolfar can Sigrid a golem under most circumstances on most competitive maps. But if you want to cheese with Wolfar and golf your own golem, that's taken out. I feel like he's got the easier play now, but I liked the more gimmicky play.
Yeah, and like he loses quite a lot of stuff. Like he can't golf air into non-existence as much as anymore because like there's way less flagstone on maps. Like there's no flagstone on the map that's going to be played in the next UIM, which is going to be a first for.
Yeah. Right, because you need flagstones to nerf wheels, but that just buffed Wolfar because now he sees a flagstone tile and that's just whoa, this is a tile I can just kill air.
Yeah. Honestly, I
There's
think
going to be a dragon there someday.
I think it's pretty much the situation where I would advise, and I don't know if this is feasible on some maps, but I'm sure it's feasible on most, to have like a flagstone square somewhere on one of the sides of the map, on each side of the map, so that Wolfar still has that option.
It's not like such a huge deal. Plus, like most of the flagstone used on maps isn't to stop wheels or restrict wheels. It's just to have flagstone.
Yeah.
So, and like this kind of stuff is generally pretty minor. So, like I don't really put much thought into these like minor buffs, minor nerfs, because they usually just don't amount to much when you actually compare him to other commanders.
There's also like we're going to be making more changes as well going forward. So if Wolfar is still up in the air as to where he is on the tier list, then I'm happy to like leave him there in that kind of like state of like we don't know where he is until we've made more changes, because then we can touch him when like things are settled more.
So I guess we can talk about the new changes to the mod, which I guess the biggest are like the new overheal mechanic.
Yeah, those look interesting.
Mercia and Mercia.
Well, I think like the
Explain
big
those things.
change, the big first change, and this is like a gameplay like affects most things change, is that like damage RNG is changing. So like anything below, so basically there's going to be a cap of like how much damage variance there'll be, and that'll be 10%. So like if you do like 20 damage on a roll normally, like that's the average, it'll be 22 to 18 damage instead of like 15 to 25.
Wait,
Oh yeah.
the 5%
So-
before didn't apply to the damage, it applied to max damage?
Sorry, what was that?
I'm asking if the that 5% up or down apply to max damage all the time. Is that what you're saying? So
Yeah, so like right now it's like you do 5 to 15 damage, you do like 85 to 95 damage. Like in the mod it will be like you'll still have that upper like 85 to 95. Like once you go above like 50% average, like it stays at like plus 5 minus 5.
but that can't be right because you never do like low damage units don't get that kind of swing, like even when they're full HP. They don't get plus or minus 5.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
They do? Really?
Archer shooting a golem, if the golem's on planes, it'll do like 4 to 14 damage or something like that. Or is it 5 to 14? Something ridiculous. Like you essentially get triple damage based on your roll for an archer against a lot of units.
It's 9 to 18 because it's based 15. But yeah, if it has like average 10, then yeah, you can get triple damage.
Yeah, archers
And it
are
also makes like suicides pretty inconsistent. So like this change will make most of the common suicides with swords and dogs way more consistent. It's not like
Right.
as RNG.
which I like because although it means that those crazy kills are less likely, I attempt fewer crazy kills like in an even match. So I want more reliable kills. Yes.
While you're at it, you should like just give an option to remove RNG, like built into the mod.
So that's something we'll try at some point. This is very much like people still like having RNG in the game, and like I wanted to remove a lot of the really bad cases of it, where like I think it's archers against commanders do average 10.
Yeah, like it's something
Yeah.
ridiculous like that.
Yeah, if you have like 3 archers in your defensive line, they could either do like 15 damage to a commander, or they could do 45 potentially. And
Yeah,
it's like
550.
such
Yeah,
a
it's
huge variance. Yeah.
The nice thing if you remove RNG is that it all becomes deterministic. So like all the wall breaks, they're like they either work or they don't. All the commander lethals, they work or they don't. And like anything that works exactly average, normally that's 50% chance of working. But with no RNG, it becomes 100% of the time. So it can make like a huge difference in the way like you get gameplay playing out.
Yeah,
I don't
and
like completely deterministic gameplay. I like an element of luck. So I have
Well-
mixed feelings.
You can get like luck in other forms. Like maybe they had like a bad sleep. Or maybe they're playing at like 2 a.m. or something.
That's usually me, let's be real.
yeah, that's one of those like we'll look at that again. Like everything we're doing is very much like let's try stuff, and this is us like we're gonna make RNG like a little less punishing or like a little less rewarding as well at times. Because like you could be that person that attacks into your opponent that has 3 archers, and they could deal tons of damage to you without like
Right.
and a lethal comes out. Whereas like a lot of the time they just would do like barely anything. So it's like now you can kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna take 30 damage from my opponent's archers instead of, or like around 30 damage. So it just makes things like a little bit more consistent. Also, weirdly, when units are on low health, this is kind of the way it calculates these things anyway. So like a low health soldier, when it hits a commander, will do like 5 to 7% damage, for example. Like the plus or minus 5. Like
The RNG scales with health. So
yeah. So
50%
we're just kind of
health,
making. Yeah, so like we're just making that consistent, where it's like low percent damage means that like the RNG is reduced, and that'll be like regardless of like things like health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably like the big we're changing the entire game change.
Yeah. By the way, the reason why it was confusing me, it's because it's reduced by terrain. So that's why I was like, plus or like that doesn't sound right. Yeah, on roads it's +5 or -5, but everywhere
Yeah.
else it's not. It's less.
Yeah, because it's weird because you kind of have to like assume that you're attacking something on planes because that's most of the time where you're going to be hitting something.
Yeah, on planes it's
Yeah, on
like
planes-
it's 4 something
On planes, it's
percent.
±4.5.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess like other changes, we're rebalancing a lot of the stuff that we changed in the first patch. So we haven't really changed much new stuff, but this time it's like Ryota is gonna do not be as punished per jump now. So it's like he loses 3% instead of 5% per jump. I'm still wanting to test and see if ramping is like a good idea or not. I think it's fine, but like we're gonna have to see. I'm
I think it just-
also very open. Like I am open to just like removing the ramping thing
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. That's my
It
vote.
just makes him needlessly weak.
Yeah. Like removing
But-
his ability to jump across the map, it's one step too far in my opinion.
Well, he can still jump across the map, but like, why are you nerfing his damage output so much when you have like other commanders that are way easier to use that have like really insane damage outputs? So
I mean,
him
well,
having like a decent one is not bad.
yeah, I mean, like the thing I go into in like the full write up is that like he's the fast commander, so his damage is lower, and like we might make some changes to make that like being fast more of a thing, like more of an advantage. Because right now, like if you're slow, you just like hit a few villages and like you're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we might change some stuff to make it a bit more difficult for slower chargers to actually like it's not just going to be, oh, there's a soldier over there, I'm just going to go get like 30% groove this turn.
Like even before the mod, that's what was killing Wolfar, because he's like, oh, I've got this really awesome groove balanced around the fact that I can do it fast. In fact, it might even be broken. But then, oh, but by the time I can use it, Ragna's ready. Shit,
Right.
Well, that was
Yeah.
because of the
go near them
NTD.
now.
That was a lot the chess clock working in favor of Ragnar too, to be fair.
The maps in Groove War 4 pool had a disproportionate amount of free decaps. I think now we're realizing we need less free decaps and maybe minimize them as much as possible if they don't really add to the gameplay.
Honestly, while I really, really like Gilgamesh, I really, really don't like the fact that you get so much free groove if the players don't really know the map's opening to a T. Like, if you don't know how to open properly and defend the openings on that map, you just give or get, like, huge amounts of groove, and that just makes slow groove insanely good. And honestly, I don't think it's good for the game.
Yeah, but they go like that's the thing. Like you need to know the map to some extent if you want to start skipping caps to stop groove.
Yeah.
You can't really like
Right.
stop that part because that's just like map familiarity.
Yeah, and like we're gonna like try some stuff in the future with the mod for that, but I do think that is like a map design thing, and I've brought this up as well, and I'm hoping that like we can try a lot more map designs before Groove War 5, so we can try out
Yeah.
stuff like less free groove for commanders.
Sure. By the
Like
way,
the-
I'm not against having maps that have that feature, but I think it's one of those things that it needs to be understood that that's a specific feature, right? Giving a lot of
Yeah.
groove just makes slower commanders stronger, so some maps should have it, and some maps shouldn't.
Yeah, like 1.3, we had almost no maps giving
Yeah.
a guaranteed decap,
The only map
and
that was
that-
like that.
kind of fed into the tier list where like the best slow charger was Ragna at mid tier, and then all the others were in low tier or worse. And then now we kind of have a inverted thing where like all the best commanders are slow charge because of in part because of the free decap. Like Valder and Mercia and Wolfar can't compete as well.
Well,
In some cases, you were getting to slow
like
group.
a free sword, and
Yeah.
you can chain that.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you get in some cases you had like in the tournament you had players getting Ragnar Groove like turn 8. Like that's the early game. That's when fast charge is really starting to get good. And by then, in some instances, like the slow charge was already there, so the game was pretty much over in that case.
Rustic, you could get 2 guaranteed decaps if you wanted, and on that map, like fast chargers were unplayable.
Yeah.
Yeah. They almost don't do anything.
No Man's Rifle is like similar because you have 1 guaranteed decap, and then you have a second decap if they cap like any of like a whole bunch of villages. So usually you kind of have like a dance where no one caps any of the center villages, or like the kind of one near the forest and mountain arrangement. But yeah, fast chargers kind of suffer there too because there's less early combat and again free decap.
Yeah.
Like that is like a thing that will. I mean, that's really up to the map team, and like it seems like people have realized that like, hey, giving free decaps is causing all these problems. So hopefully going forward, we can.
Honestly, I don't think it's a problem at all. I think it's just it's a question of having maps that favor different playstyles.
When I say it's a problem, I mean like in Groove of War 4, I think someone said 4 out of the 6 maps had
too many maps.
Had like decap. Yeah, and like that's what I mean when I say a problem.
Yeah, but that was just like we didn't have that many maps. Now there's like way more, and we have like all these different like design variety. Like there's tons and tons of maps now we have to choose from, and most people I don't think have seen most of the maps that are actually there, even if they're like they've been proven to be good, they've been tested. Like even in like the last month, we've tested like an enormous amount of maps that are now actually like pretty ready for like frequent play. But I think most people just haven't seen them because like we've done testing like with some like acing matches, and we've had Burke tourney matches. But like most people don't participate in those things, so they just don't see all these like maps with all these different approaches.
Yeah, it's definitely the case that like if you asked most people, like even most of the very active players, if you asked them if there was map changes that could make like the slow commanders like the better commanders, most people would say that was not the case, and it was just one of those situations where we found most of it during the actual tournament. Like
I don't know if we found it. Like I think we observed that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Found. Like I'm not saying that the idea wasn't there before. I think it was an excellent showcase.
Yeah, now it got a lot of attention. Like before, it was like people were like, okay, but it was kind of nice because you saw more commanders because you only saw like top 5 who were all like fast and medium.
Like Caesar was the only medium one, but that's because his groove was so powerful that it was worth it.
Yeah,
but like he should be slow.
Caesar needs to go to
but that's a different topic.
So I think we're ready to move to timers, maybe.
Let's go.
Or we can talk about overheal.
Wait.
Overheal.
Oh yeah, overheal.
I'll just like skim over a couple of like the simpler ones. So
okay, so now we're gonna do like this. Gimbal, you talk as much as you need to, and after you end, we're not gonna talk about it, and we're gonna switch. So say your piece, everything you need to do.
All right. Okay, Merciful, he's going from medium to fast because it was pretty obvious, like, as soon as he went up against either a fast or a medium commander that his groove was, like, it was pretty obvious that his groove's on the same power level as a fast groove. He also steals 100 gold from his opponent when he uses his groove, which is just kind of like a nice little bonus. It kind of makes sense because that's how much income a village gives, so yeah, like, that's Merciful's change. Should make him a bit better. Dark Mercia, she now overheals, so up to 200%. I like forgot that there was a cap when I wrote this blog. So she can essentially have like twice as much health as she should have. She also gets twice as much damage. It goes back to 0. It goes back to 100% if she's above it at the start of her next turn. So you essentially can't really attack her after she uses her groove, but it doesn't really matter because like you can just ignore her. The main advantage of that is that like Dark Mercier can now just run into an opponent's army and like groove and not worry about dying to counterattack as much. But there is still like a level of you have to be careful. Like you can't just run into a road when your opponent has dragons because they'll still melt you. There's also some really hilarious visual bugs with her, which we didn't realize because we don't play with animations on. And someone found after where there's like 2 Dark Merciers on the screen or something.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Mercia, her healing can now push units up to 110% health. And
Weird.
only Mercia
resets as
Mercia,
well, so-
the other units will stay at like the above health value. This is one of those, like, we wanted to give Mercia a bit more capability to be proactive with her groove. So right now it's like purely reactive for the most part, unless like you attack into them first and heal your army after. But this is like, you can heal a bunch of units and like push some of those units above 100% health, and then like you'll get a bit more of a damage boost. We're being really careful about this. It's probably going to get rolled back a little, like probably down to like 105, or like units won't keep that extra health at the start of the next turn. But yeah, we did some playtesting with this. It was a lot of fun. It also makes all the animations go really weird, so I'd actually advise people to play with animations on if you're going to play Mercia or Dark Mercia, because it's just like, it's like you get extra spears on the screen. It looks funny. I think archers do weird stuff as well. And that's it for the commander changes. Some unit changes. Spears now take extra damage from swords, archers, and harpies. So this means that like certain combinations are guaranteed. You can do stuff like, you can use sword plus archer to kill a spear. You can do stuff like archer plus dog will consistently kill a spear on plains. Harpies will now consistently kill spears on roads if you hit them with 2 of them. And there's like a decent coin flip if you hit them on plains with 2 harpies. So it's a little bit of a harpy buff, it's a little bit of a spear nerf. It just makes spear walls a little bit more, I don't know if like weaker is the right term, but you can consistently break them with options that already exist. Some stuff about barges, so like we're changing how barges work a bit. So a barge will be able to move and then move again if it's empty, and it will also, you can also do stuff like you can move to a beach, you can load, you can move and then unload again in one turn. But the overall range of a barge is lower, so like when a barge is empty, it's got quite a lot of mobility, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it, but you can't move, unload, and then move again. So like, yeah, it's great on certain map setups, and it's like weaker on others. And like the last change is that reefs, we're buffing them to 3 defense. We just kind of want to make sea tiles a bit more interesting and have a bit more options. So like right now you have like ocean, which is like a road. You've got regular sea, which is like plains, where there's 10 defense and half movement compared to ocean. Or like, I guess it would be, but we changed how that works fundamentally. And then you've got reefs, which are kind of like forests, especially when it comes to movement. So we decided to give them the same defense buff as a forest tile. And we're going to be testing like ocean stuff and like more naval stuff going forward. So like we decided to make this change now and then see how it plays out. And that's everything.
Okay, nice. Lots of stuff. You want to say
I
something?
think
Come on.
yeah, I think Overheal is really interesting though.
I'm sure it will be nice.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, let's go to time
really, I just like, I do want to see someone get a really sick kill on a Dark Mercy by like suiciding 15 units into her. I think that would be really fun.
You probably don't have enough spaces to do it though.
Oh, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
I'm talking in game, not
God,
not making a custom map to try and get it done. I'm talking in game 200%.
It's happened.
You can
like...
throw a knight crit at her when she's at 200%, and she'll kill the knight in return.
Oh my god!
How will she kill the knight in return? Does her damage increase because she's at 200%?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, so,
you didn't say that.
Wow. Yeah, if Dark Mercia could overheal, my match with TMJ would have gone very differently. Because I literally surrounded his Dark Mercia, and he grew like 10 of my units.
I wasn't going to say anything, but the first thing you said the first thing I thought when you said that was, if you're doing that for Dark Mercia, why not do it for Sigrid as well?
Sigrid.
If you don't want to move or speed up, because that would probably help her out.
That would actually make her way better, because then you can't put stuff near her, because then
She actually kills it for free.
She kills it for free, and then you can't hit her, because then she's
because she just kills everything else that tries to attack her.
Yeah, that's one of those, like, we'll consider it. I want to see how Dark Mercy... Actually, having said that, I want to see how that breaks Sigurd's animation. Yeah, we did test that. Like, we were trying to get... we had, like, desync issues and stuff. Like, I randomly had Dark Mercy explode during a match because...
yeah, because...
storing the overheal values.
It's probably breaking
something. So if you quit out the game and went back in...
The game doesn't remember, and it's like,
yeah, we had to like code that in. But when it wasn't remembering, when you went out and went back in, like there was just a match where Dark Mercy exploded. Like when I tried watching the replay,
the game was like 200%. No way, something is wrong. Die.
Oh yeah, I think it was something like she killed a unit in the actual game, but when I went back and watched it, because it's like. If you X out and go back in, it treats her as she has 100%.
Yeah, because the replay will not.
Unit,
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Because you need to recreate it. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's go into timers now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we shouldn't have a lot to talk about it, but there was some discussion on Discord recently about how timers.
Chess versus turn.
Yeah, chess versus turn. So it was suggested that we talk a bit about it. So here we are. So
I have a couple things to say.
Nice. So go ahead and start it.
We put out the form for feedback for Groove of War 5 or Groove of 4 even after the event, and actually generally people seem to prefer chess. Of course, the 30 minutes a lot of people didn't like 30, and we're going to be trying 45 next. Mainly because that's actually an option we have now, and we didn't get it until the end of the event. So we're going to try 45. We're going to make sure the maps generally aren't designed to take longer than they do right now. And we'll see how that plays out. And then, like, we can go from there. Like, one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, Groove War 5 is going to be a bit of time away. Is, like, we want to try a bunch of different timer options and see how they all play out.
By the way, polling, stuff like that is usually not very useful. Because the only thing people knew was 30-minute chess, so you were comparing. So you were asking most people to compare something they didn't know with something they did know. So it was very likely that 30-minute chess would be like fine.
People liked the 30-minute timers, which was not what I expected. I thought a lot more people would be asking for turn time.
Yeah, it's what they know. Especially people that are watching on stream. They're and not actually playing those games. They're probably a lot like. They probably don't have, like, not even half as many problems as we players actually do. Like, because we feel the hurt when we lose because of the timer, but they're just watching the stream, right? And as long as the stream is fun for them, like, the game ending because of the timer is completely fine. It's still balanced, right? It's the same for both players, so it's not a question of, like, it's not an invalid win. It's just a win, right? It's a timer. It's like a soccer game ending because the timer ended, right? It's fine.
What I don't like about turn timers is that you can't do the longer calcs. So for like async players like me, who are like, all right, I want to take 10 minutes to think about this. And if I have 10 minutes, I can win the game right here. But I only have 5. I can't even.
No, you only have 3 or 2. There's no such thing as turn time. 5-minute turn timers is like the 180-minute chess timer. Yeah. Like, you gotta think of the 5-minute turn timer the same way we think about the 180-minute chess. It's like, it's there, sure, but it's completely unfeasible. Like,
I get what you're saying. Like, when I play with turn timers, and I do for, like, casual matches, or if I just want to try it, like, I never use more than 2 if I have a say in it.
Yeah.
Right. Because 5 is, like, it's probably non-existent. I mean, even on, like, chess... Like, if you take 5 minutes every single turn, that's like what? That's already 6 turns.
Yeah, it's just too long.
Like,
but for that one critical turn, you want to take a little bit of time.
But even on those, but to be fair, even on chess timer, when you actually have the option to spend as much time as you want, most players don't actually go over the 5 minutes, even on those circumstances. Like, that's 5 minutes is actually a really long time. Like most players, I don't know if they get bored. I personally do get bored. I just get like, okay, I'm not gonna like this is. I'm not playing a puzzle game. I'm playing a strategy game. Like I know if I had 20 minutes, I would solve this, but I'm just not gonna lose that kind of time. And I think most players are kind of like that. They have a certain amount of time that they're willing to spend on a specific turn. Of course, there are those players that will spend as much time as you give them.
Well, like I don't know, Bazik. Like to be fair, I think you lost most of your games from playing too fast.
No, I'm sure of that. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Like, my point stands.
I think up to a certain level, like 30-minute timers were fine because if people are like losing their commander, or they're losing the game really quickly through like snowballing, then like you don't have to worry too much. But if people aren't really losing, but at like the really high level, if people don't really lose their commander, and you have to win through a buildup of advantages, then the timer becomes a big factor, and someone can stall out like Shu in the last game of the finals and just like win on time if they
Your game against
play a
Alsame,
bit faster.
same thing. There were
yeah,
several
my
games. There were several
Oh, yeah.
games like that. Like people like discount those games. They like you were forgetting about that specific game, for example. Like because those games, honestly, they kind of fall off. Like you were remembering the other game because it was the finals. Because those games are not as memorable. Because
game
they
versus
ended on
Rust-
timers. Like people remember the timer games where people just end turn and turn and turn and it goes to 40.
Oh.
Sure,
Yeah,
those
like
ones
Dave
people
Headphones.
remember, but the other ones people are like, it was a crappy game. It ended on timer.
The thing with the game with Alsame is that like that was like really really extreme poor like time usage. Like it was 20 minutes by turn 10. Like he would still time out with 40-minute chess,
Yeah, I know.
assuming the game wouldn't end in a few turns. So like because of that, it's not really because of the 30-minute chess, but more he was playing way too slow.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's
I gotta warn you about Alsame. I did some practice matches with him, and there was like this point where he had 60 seconds left and pulled off this multi-turn HQ blitz that won at 1 second remaining.
But-
I keep trying to find the video, but we can't find it.
But that example that you're giving of Alsame, I think it encapsulates the problem that I have with just straight up increasing the amount of time you give in chess timer, which is I think most low level games will not actually improve and they will just get longer because people have more time. Like it won't actually make for better games. Like it will just make for longer games. And I think that
More
will
time
happen like
definitely
across
make-
the board.
It definitely makes for better games because like you'll have less sudden lethals and less like of those like major errors because people have more time. Like
Right.
when you want
They
to
don't feel
play
pressured.
good chess, you want to improve your chess.
I think
you
that's
play
true at the top
slower
level.
games.
I don't think
So
that's
the
true
same
at the
thing
low
here,
level.
like,
Yeah, I don't think a
I would-
player that can find a solution in like 3 or 4 minutes, which you do have in 30-minute chess, I don't think most of those players are going to find a solution in 5 minutes instead of 4.
but like I don't know, a lot of the players who are learning the game, like they don't want to play on a timer because like they want to be able to spend the time, and when they play on timer, they just play a lot worse because like they're learning the game and it's difficult for them to make those decisions really quickly because they don't have like that pattern recognition, that practice. So like more time helps everyone. Like when you're a high level player, you can spend a lot of time just like thinking about the intricacies of the position, like your strategy.
Isn't that a really, really crappy argument? Like,
But not really, like,
you're
it's
saying
what
people
it's what
don't
I
like
do.
the stress? Like, they're playing in a competition. That it's very stressful. Like, saying that, it's very stressful to play against the timer.
Oh no, but I don't mean like it's stressful. Meaning like it's very difficult for them to play under that like situation. Their play falls off a lot.
But that's
I'm
a
not
question
saying like
of how
we
many...
don't want people to be stressed or
Yeah,
something. It's
but-
not about that.
But
I'll
saying,
tell you what I do on a 45-minute timer. Like, my biggest problem with the timer is I'm afraid to take the time on critical turns because I feel like if my opponent gets ahead of me on time by too much, they can stall me out. With 45 minutes, I feel like even if they get a little bit ahead of me, I can claw that back. So I'm going to take more time on the big turns
Sneaky.
to see if I have a lethal.
I'm gonna level with you. I don't think anyone that is playing here, like, I'm gonna take myself out of the equation because yes, I do exactly what Matt was saying. Like, I just get bored of the turns if I'm being completely honest, and I just stop thinking because I'm like I've been thinking about this too long. But most of you can do the like maybe not always perfect play, but the 95% effective play on the first 3 minutes of the turn. And
I
every
disagree.
minute you add on it will increase its performance slightly for like 95% of the game.
Not
Most
me.
turns will
No,
not
definitely
change
not.
effectiveness.
Not me at all. No, I am really, really bad with my first instinct, which is why I'm an async player. My
Yeah.
first instinct is almost always wrong.
If you change it to like 5 minutes, then like sure you can play maybe like for like 80% of the turns you can probably play
No, at
close
5
to
minutes,
the best move.
At 5 minutes, it's not. I'm not gonna say 100 every single game, but it will be 100% of the turns will be as good as playing 45-minute chess. Like most games, you will not need more than 5 minutes.
If you're 5 minutes per turn, then yeah, then every turn is gonna be better than 45-minute chess.
Like,
Right.
Way more time.
That's
Still have
that's
those
the whole
two
point.
players that just
people
time
don't
out anyway.
people don't think about this, but in turn timers, one of the things that you need to really equate is that you're not just playing with your time. You're playing with yours and your opponent's time. So every time you increase the timer, you're actually doubling that amount of time you increased because you have your opponent's timer also counting, and you can use that time to actually think about what you're gonna do. So
the thing with it is that the biggest turns are the time that your opponent's turn that you can be thinking. You can't really use that time because usually it's near the end of the turn. They leave something out or they make some error, and then you can get some lethal or you can get some crazy wall break that does a lot of damage. But you have to think that through, and that takes a lot of time. And you can't think it over during their turn. It's kind of a sudden opportunity available on your turn.
But
it's usually that last 3 units that move that change
isn't the
everything.
counter argument to that your games with Shu in the final, where you both actually missed lethals, even though you were playing chess timers, where you could have decided, okay, this turn I'm going to spend 5 minutes and I'm going to find the perfect lethal here.
Wait,
and you never did. And you guys never did.
We never really missed like clear-cut lethals.
I'm not saying clear-cut lethals. I'm talking about lethals where you need to take those 5-6 minutes you were asking for.
Not really. Like I think I just like
oh,
there was,
you did.
That was like pretty good.
There were at least a couple
there,
of
I was
lethal.
slow on time.
No. I know you were playing and you were stressed because of that. But if you were not playing, I guarantee you there were lethals there, and I remember clear. I told you after the game there was at least one of the games where I remember a very clear lethal where I was with Killsauce watching the game, and we were like, "There's a lethal here. It would take time to do this, and the only reason he's not gonna check it is because of the turn timers." And that's exactly what you did. You looked at it and you were like, "Nah," and you went away. Like the idea that you have just more time and you're just gonna spend it. It's not always true, because when you're playing with a chess timer, you also want to play fast and do faster turns because you don't want to spend that time because you might need it later. You're like in constant FOMO. You're afraid that you might need that time in 10 turns away further.
Okay, well, I don't know if that's exactly true. Like the reason I brought up the game 3 of the finals was that like it was a really good example of like the downside of 30-minute chess, because we were both playing quite fast and I only got timed out by like having 2 minutes less. So it was like those really small margins of like time that made a big difference. If you give me 15 minutes more, then I easily convert. I only like I was needed maybe probably 5 more minutes, and I could convert that.
Maybe
game.
We don't know because Shu might have played different.
You would have for sure played like the position was totally winning. Like the reason I didn't really think I didn't like think too much about those lethals was because the position was totally winning. So I didn't have to go for the stuff that maybe works, maybe doesn't, waste my time when I can just play normally, and the position's totally winning anyways. So I should just play that. That's why. It's not a fear of missing out. It's just that I have a position that's winning either way. So I'm going to take the better option by not potentially sinking a lot of time into something that doesn't work.
Yeah. So I actually agree with both of you. Like, Bozic, I totally get what you're saying, and I do that. I'm thinking like I don't want my opponent to get too ahead of me, or they're going to get the ability to stall me out. But I also think Matt's right. With 30 minutes, if you are not really winning, it's hard to close the game. That was my biggest fear every time I got ahead. Oh shit, should I actually be playing like normal and try to win? Or should I just be rushing my moves and force my opponent to move and hope they continue to do silly things? Because like, it didn't feel like once you got ahead, you had enough time to close it. I think an extra 15 minutes is enough time to close it if you're winning, or it's time you can dedicate to figuring out lethals if you want to spend it that way. And if you choose to spend it that way and don't, then your opponent gets a big time lead. They can use that to your advantage, and that's your fault for spending too much time on a lethal that wasn't there.
You're going to see two ways people are going to play it. They're going to either take that extra time and put more of it into their turns, and those are the people who are probably also going to time out around the same time that like the faster players were timing out with 30-minute chess. But you also have the players who will play like a similar speed, maybe a little bit slower, but use most of that time to convert the game later on, so they don't time out. I think those are the two main applications of it.
I would actually like to check. I might do this later, not today because it's late, but I might check your game and check if you actually had any single turn longer than like 4 minutes during the whole finals against Shu.
I don't think so.
You probably were always on. I know Shu plays like that. Even when he has the time, he rarely goes over 3 minutes. So I like this argument that you really need to start making turns, like 5-minute turns all the time. I don't think it holds water, but
no, not 5-minute turns.
I can be proven wrong.
The opportunity to make 5-minute turns every once in a while, or 6-minute turns, or like to make one.
I think you every once in a while, so not every game, you get an actual turn where you actually need those 5, 6 minutes, 7-minute turns. But I don't think it's that pervasive in most games.
So the thing with Shu is he was trying to time people out in all his games. So he was playing like under 3 minutes.
He
or
was
3
playing
minutes
smart.
turns.
He won the tournament.
Like some of his plays, he was going for like some suboptimal stuff that was like good enough, so that he could just try to time people out.
He was playing a timer.
That's why in like before the flood, like I got such a large advantage
Yeah.
so quickly, and it just kept going because some of his plays were like they were fast, but they weren't optimal, or they weren't that great.
Shu made me happy. I actually
But no,
talked about it before the Groove of War started, and I said that there were gonna be people that were gonna just play the timer in a lot of situations, and I'm super glad that the winner actually did it quite a lot. Like, because that's one of the consequences when you add a win condition to the game. Some people will say, like, this new win condition is good for me, so I'm going to play for this win condition.
I'm not sure it's completely right to say he played for it. I don't think Shu can play any other way. One of the reasons I was way more confident if I had to fight Shu than Mathlord wasn't like a comparison between the two, but just I know that Shu will play fast and make suboptimal plays like Mathlord was talking about all the time. That's just how he plays. He's so good when he plays fast. I can't even begin to approach his speed. It's crazy. And he told me that if he plays any faster, like you said, he'll overthink it and do something worse. He's the exact opposite of me. So, like,
I don't think that's true. Like, you can look at his play in Groove of War 3, 5-minute timers, and he was using his time. You can look at like his play with like live games where you have a lot more time. He uses his time. Like, I've played live games like Butterfly against him, and
playing fast.
like I've played a lot of games against him. He uses his time. Like, if timeout is a viable strategy, he will go for it. But like otherwise, he's
an
not.
Intelligent player.
Suboptimal plays is not his strategy. He likes to go for the optimal stuff.
Right.
But sometimes the optimal stuff in a timer situation is to try to play for timeout.
Yeah, he just went for the best play in the shortest amount of time, and there's a balance there, right? So to not do like the best play in 10 seconds is not the best play in a minute, and he just found out that he can get really, really good plays playing super fast, and that was a winning formula, and he went for it.
Yeah, it's like you look at the game me versus Alsame, and like he was playing pretty well, and it was pretty even. But the difference was that I was making my moves a lot faster than he was. So
yeah, and
it is a skill and it is valuable.
And your game against Alsame, the only reason why the timer was any close was because there was like one turn in the middle of the game that for some reason you didn't even do anything complex, but you spent like 6 minutes in a turn because you were so far ahead in the timer. It was super weird.
I had the luxury to take my time
you
and
just went
check
like,
everything.
okay, I'm gonna play slow.
I have a couple things I want to add about timers.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the first things is that we're going to be trying 45-minute chess for Groove of Nations. And that's just like, we want to see how that plays out. And it's like a good event. People seem to like chess timers, so we're going to go with that. I will say that like my biggest issue with chess timers, and like a lot of people consider this like the game is stalling when it goes long, but sometimes you'll have really close games where like lots of action is happening and neither player is at an advantage afterwards. And like you'll just put yourself in a position where it's like, okay, we're having this super close game and it's just going long and one person's going to lose because they took longer on it. And that kind of sucks because I don't really mind watching a game that goes on for like 2 or 3 hours if the entire time it's like really close and really good action. Yeah.
Yep. It's very true.
Yeah,
But
The length is not the problem.
Right, yeah. Because I mean, if you have like, I go watch streams and it's like, oh my god, the game is like 2 hours long, but it's just guys just sitting there with their trebs, and it's like that PS4 stream, bless their hearts, where they had like a 30-minute game, but it was literally just it was like a treb fest.
I'm watching that.
Yeah.
It is cool to see like people doing stuff like that, and like poor guys are stuck on 1.3. But yeah, actually not even just stuck at 1.3. They can't even get the new maps. Like any map that was made in 2.0, they can't download.
So I'm gonna use the privilege of having you here and say on stream that please, if you go for 45-minute chess during Group of War 5, don't just go for 45-minute chess. Allow for smaller maps and do 30-minute chess for smaller maps. Maybe 1 Rax maps do 30-minute chess, and 2 Rax maps do 45-minute chess. Don't just slap 45 minutes on everything, because small maps with 45 minutes, that will be kind of bad.
Yeah, we're gonna we'll be open to doing stuff like that, and we might even be open to doing things like early rounds will be like 45 minutes. And then later rounds, like, we'll potentially even use turn timers. Because, like, the big advantage of chess is that it means that both players know how long they're sitting down and playing for.
Right.
And when you're in the early round, you want to, like, try and be as accommodating as possible for people. Like, you don't want to have someone, like, 2 players sit down, potentially play on turn timers in an early round, and then be like, well, I literally have to go to bed or go to work. So like I can't like play,
or like I took a day off so I can play this game, and now you're telling me I have to play another game tomorrow.
But like in that case, maybe it makes sense to have the 30-minute chess timers, the 30-minute chess like maps earlier. So you have like your Minotaurs and your Dendritrix in like the Swiss, and then maybe have like your longer 45-minute chess later in the Swiss and in the like top 8.
Yeah, like that's something we can consider doing. But the main thing right now is we just need to test everything.
Yeah.
Because like Group of War 5 is going to be a big deal, like for a lot of reasons, and I won't go into all of them. But it's going to be one of those like we just want to make sure everything's perfect or as close to perfect as we can get them. Like I don't want there to be like an obvious problem. Like with Group of War 4, a lot of the problems that happened were things we saw coming, but we just didn't have enough preparation time.
The maps, yeah. Like Gilgamesh, luckily, like headphone, like they saw that was sniffed out super early.
Yeah, we talked about this quite a lot in one of the podcasts, but my recommendation is definitely do not change the maps, no matter what. Just give people play map bans after a certain point of the tournament, where players can just veto maps that are completely broken. But don't change the maps, because I think like while it was successful with Gilgamesh, it was in my estimation a failure in some of the cases. So changing the maps is way too risky. Yeah,
like now because like Group of War 4 happened like what was it, a month after the game?
Yeah.
After 2.0?
Yeah.
Like, we were dealing with an entirely new meta. We were dealing with like having to change all the map layouts. We were dealing with having timers for the first time, because like timers didn't come in like as a thing until like just before 2.0.
Yep.
So there was like no testing on them before that, or like very little. So you look at that and it's like we had all of these like different factors, and we had an entire community. And I think some people would have been up for waiting but a lot of people were like, we want an event now because
You did the right thing.
Yeah, it's 2.0.
You did the right
Yeah.
thing. You got a lot
It's
more
better to-
players because of it. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you know,
but now we have this opportunity. I think a lot of people just want a bit of downtime away from the game, which is fair. And like we're going to be running like a kind of fun thing over the next couple of months. Probably go to another show match at some point, and then when we're all ready and we have like a good big list of maps that we can pick from that are well tested, and we have like timers that we figured out, and we have everything else, then we can kind of go forward with what's best. But I do want to see turn timers getting tested. Like I wouldn't mind the idea of like because like once you get to like top 8 or top 16 or something, the players generally tend to be more flexible, and like the tournament can be more flexible because it's all elimination at that point. So you could say something like, we'll use turn timers for the rest of the event, because if it goes long, it doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
But if you're playing like Swiss rounds, like the entire round needs to end before the next one can start. So that has to be very strict timing. Like everybody has to finish their matches by a certain point. But in elimination, if someone needs to take an extra day to play out a set, then that's not the end of the world. So we could allow for turn timers. So that's like one possibility. And also, like once you start getting to the higher levels of play, like that's when the matches can get closer. So like timeouts are less of a factor.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff like we're not going to do best of 1 Swiss again. Like we're looking at not even best of 2, like just people playing 2 matches and then scoring them accordingly on those. So like losing once due to a timeout isn't going to be absolutely devastating.
It should also make the Swiss a bit more dynamic. Like it'll differentiate the players a bit more, because like if you have 2 equally skilled players, it's not just going to be like they were the same. It could be 1-1, and that kind of reflects better.
But a player who is much better than their opponent will 2-0, and like that will mean that like the early rounds, for example, where like you have the best player in the pool playing like what is in theory. Actually, I don't even think Swiss does that. I think it actually adjusts it slightly. But basically, like the players who are stronger are going to be able to differentiate themselves more, and you're going to have less punishing things for like timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
And like the idea right now is that it's the same map twice. So people we're not going to have that like, oh, you just had an FTA on that one map. It will be like you play player 1. Yeah, it'll be like having like Counter-Strike, they swap sides, for example.
Swap sides, you just like make one player A and the other player, and then they alternate whoever gets to choose between player A and player B.
Right.
Because like maybe one player prefers to counterpick commander both times, the other person wants position, and that's totally fine.
I think we're just gonna. It's simpler, just to because like let's say a newer player goes in against a stronger one, and they don't understand like, oh, this map is a little bit advantaged for the first player or the second player, and like maybe they're not quite good enough to spot that, for example. I don't know. It just makes things nice and simple if you're just like you play player 1 on your first game and player 2 on your second.
I don't know if it's really better, because then how do you like offset who picks commander first, and how do you like offset the ban order? Like I think letting the players choose if they want to choose position or choose commander second and get the better ban order. I think that's better.
What offsets that is that you need to choose one commander at the start, and you play the same commander on both sides.
Yeah, that's another possibility, is you just get locked into the same commander twice. Although, I guess something bad that could happen there is like someone picks a commander, doesn't play the map quite as well, and like
they don't like to play that commander on one of the sides.
they don't want to play that matchup again, and you're just like, oh.
I would just give maximum flexibility. Like just
I'm sorry, don't pick that commander.
player choose player A, player B. Then the next game, the other player can choose player A, player B. But like the bans are all different, and you can get like most variety. You can get some adaptation.
Yeah, that is possible. So like yeah, we're going to be testing all of that stuff ahead of time. For Group of Nations, like the rule set is like, I mean, I can just go into it now because it's
Yeah,
gonna
we're
get
going-
announced.
Yeah, I
I
think we're
already
gonna have time,
switched to the news.
Yeah, it's all
tab
3
for
hours
quite a
long,
while.
so- Yeah,
I'll keep it very brief. Basically, teams play. There's like 4 matches that are 1v1 over 2 maps for each round. One person plays player 1 side on the map. The other person on their team plays player 2, and like you have 4 people in total in your team that do that across 2 maps. And then there's a 2v2 afterwards. So like we're kind of sort of testing this where like each 1v1 map gets used twice per round or per match, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's going to get announced tonight, so we'll be testing the whole like you get to have one person be the player 1 player and another person be the player 2 player on your side.
By the way, when because I saw someone asking in the Discord, when do teams finalize?
So that got moved back a little bit. It was actually the event was already meant to have started by now originally, but I think it's like my calendar. It's like the 19th, I think, or the 18th. So it'll be over 2 weeks from now. I just checked it. The 18th is when teams get finalized.
Alright.
And we're doing some stuff like if your country just doesn't have enough players, you can join up with another country and like have a kind of joint team. And like a country that has like basically America, that they can have multiple teams if they want. So yeah. But I'm hoping it's a fun event. I'm hoping people like do some like fun like national pride stuff. Not like extreme or anything, but like they try and like build their own little like sub community of people from their country and like get together and be like, yeah, we're gonna like do this. We're gonna win as a team.
Alright. I guess that's it.
I think we didn't really talk about Test Your Metal much for this upcoming one, but yeah, that sign-ups are available for that now. So if people want to, we're looking at breaking up the mod stuff and the regular stuff into 2 different events, just because like there's way more mods coming out now. I think Age of Wargroove is gonna there's a new version potentially gonna be out in the future. So like it. Rather than having one Test Your Metal event that has like 17 different events in it, like we're just gonna break it up, and then you'll have the standard one, which is like regular and fog, and then like a mod one, which is like its own little thing.
Oh, and also about the upcoming Test Your Metal, the maps in it are pretty interesting and dynamic. Like you have like Inner Universe, which is like really interesting mixed base. You have Sapphire Shores, which is like a really interesting like larger map. You have Harvest Dawn, which is like a interesting like take on 2 racks and just like some interesting things with thieves. There's also like Fog, and there's a map for the mod, and I think that's it. Maybe I'm forgetting a map.
Sorry, there's there's a couple of mod maps, but yeah, one of the cool things about this month is there's 6 different maps by 6 different map makers. Like that was a little fun thing that I tried to push for this time.
6 for 6.
I kind of want to. I would like to start seeing like more variety come in from like people making maps. Also, we have a map making contest on. Ooh, thank you. You're breathing into the mic there. We do have like a map making contest on right now, so like people can enter that, and like it would be cool to see more people coming in and making maps and us like playing stuff on them.
The idea about the contest is to try to make thieves and rifles strong, but like to still have a good gameplay on your map. And the deadline is Hmm.
Wait, look. I'm looking at that. Let's see.
July
Oh.
10th.
Yeah, July 10th. So 9 days from when the podcast is being recorded.
So yeah, that'll be good. I mean, I guess in the case of rifles, it's making them weak enough so that they'll work on the map.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's everything for upcoming stuff.
Didn't you have an announcement about Groove of War 5 or information?
Oh yeah, we're only going to be running one more this year. We looked at the calendar and we were like, we'd literally have to start Groove of War 5 right now, and then have a 2-week gap between 5 and 6 to be able to fit them both in. So it's we're just, because of we started I think the plan for next year would be Groove of War 6 would start in the end of January, and then we try and fit the other two in, but because we started in March and ended in, I think it was very end of May, so just fitting them all in. Yeah.
So the questions on everyone's mind is, are people expecting this to be ready when? September?
I would say late September would probably be a good bet.
Okay.
So quite a while. 2 months.
Yeah, we want to have more stuff with timers. We're also going to be running Groove of Nations, which is going to be running through July and then into August. So there will be other stuff going on. But yeah, it's going to be us testing a bunch of stuff and just making sure Groove of War 5 is going to be a really great event.
Right.
Essential question. Will Zeronix reappear for Groove of War 5?
I think when we announce the prizes, I'm just going to tease everyone a bit here. When we announce the prizes, I think a lot of people are going to poke their heads back out of the and come back in and be like, "Oh, I'm actually interested now."
I don't know. He might not, because it's the start of school.
Right, school.
So
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see with what's happening right now.
I don't. Will there still be school in September? I mean,
is the world gonna end?
Well, university they're opening in September.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll just
Right. Yeah.
stream
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
directly to the
Yeah,
house.
it's online.
Yeah.
To go into geopolitics for a moment.
Oh no, no, no! This is a gaming channel.
Countries that have reopened early have already started seeing a big increase in cases again.
Oh yeah, I know.
So
my god.
Yeah, we might be in this second wave and then everything has to lock down again.
Lockdown again. Too much economic cost.
The next lockdown will happen right before the next Groove of War, so everyone is playing Groove of War again.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, there's some other stuff I don't know if this is going to happen, but when PlayStation 4 gets the 2.0 update,
Right.
whatever that is, maybe they'll get crossplay. So it would be kind of nice to have them be able to join us.
Yeah, because there's
mythical
active PS4 players.
PS4 players.
Yeah, and that was the case of that one guy that only had access to his PS4.
Oh,
and couldn't get to his
I got
PC.
that. I got that. I got that freebie. First match of the tournament, I got him. And he was like, okay, let's play. And then I was like, here's the match code. And it was like, this doesn't work. And I was like, oh, no.
No.
He actually won his second match because his opponent didn't show.
Yeah, he checked in, which is quite funny. But yeah, I hope we can get up to a point where everybody's all able to play.
That was
and
awesome.
we'll all be on the same patch version. There won't be I know the Switch is having loads of crashes right now.
Oh my god! When I played Groove of War 4, I had to switch midway to my PC version because my Switch kept on crashing.
Yeah, they should really fix those bugs.
Apparently, they've already fixed them It's just that like certification because of COVID is taking forever. So like they submitted it probably like a month ago at this point. It's just taking like so long.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Right, I need to go get some dinner. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
We've been on for like 3 hours now, so
Yeah, well, we had a lot of topics to talk about.
yeah,
too,
yeah. This
so.
has the Groove of War podcast has been off for quite a while, so a lot to talk about. So it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
I think the plan is to do these more regularly again.
Yeah, but just hard to it's hard to coordinate because everyone's at different time
It's
zones.
not
so.
hard to coordinate. I haven't been coordinating, so it just doesn't happen. that's what has been happening. I said like anyone can do it. Come on, guys, and everyone was like, eh.
Yeah, and then I was like, I'm gonna go build 3 event pages in like a week or something like that.
I had work and stuff
But
and videos.
we'll do this more than once a month. Don't worry.
Right.
All right.
Because last time was
Alright.
actually a month ago. We were last time gonna talk about
Yeah.
TYM May, and we decided we'll just do it next time. Next time was today.
Right.
But anyway, right, I'm gonna go. So thank you all for letting me be a guest. Come check out Groove of War stuff. It's all good. I'll make some cool stuff. If you want to represent your country and work with like a fun community of people, then we've got a national event coming up. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So just sign off. Well, I'm Timekey. Unfortunately, I won't be participating because I'm on hiatus to study for my exams. So.
Good luck, Timekey.
GLHF.
If there, I would say if there's space on your team's roster, like the event's gonna be running until like late August.
Yeah.
So like you might as well be on your team's roster if there's space, even if you don't play.
I see. Yeah, I gotta make time. I won't be able to participate. Wait, is it still recording or?
Yep. we're still in the outro phase, guys.
Ah,
So let's
Fine, give my outro.
okay, let's do this properly. Okay. So I'm Basic. This has been super fun to do the Wargroove Podcast number 9. We promise we'll be back in less than a month for sure. Maybe a couple weeks. Could be good, like twice a month. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Gimbal.
Oh, I'll do mine again. Yeah, I'm Gimbal, or actually I'm gonna be changing my tag fairly soon, so I won't be Gimbal for much
Oh
longer.
no.
Oh no.
It's fine.
Now,
But anyway, I stream the game. I help run a whole bunch of like Wargroove stuff. I'm actually going to start streaming it again this month because I spent June building event pages. So that's all done now, so I can actually stream the game again, which will be fun. So yeah, come check out my stuff. If you're on the Groove of War Discord, I'll be posting stuff there.
Master of Math.
so hi, I'm Master of Math. I'm a decent player. I play a lot of Fog. I make Fog maps. I test a lot of maps. I also make guides. There's the unit count guide, and I should be releasing either like this week or next week my center guide. That's like a mammoth thing. So keep an eye out for that.
Sticky Dragon.
Oh.
Just to qualify, Math says that he's a decent player. Math is like, what, second in the world in the last tournament? So,
Just making us feel bad.
hey, Sneaky Dragon. I play a lot of Wargroove, do some competitive, and I'm a YouTuber. If you want some cool beginner or competitive tutorials, feel free to check me out.
And finally, Timekey.
I'm Timekey, and I also hiatus is mean. It's kind of a joke. Yeah. But yeah, I also poke around PvP streams, so
Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.